Hi guys, I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery, and I'm located in Van.
And I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, located in Highland Heights, Kentucky.
And welcome to Wheel Talk.
Hello, we are live.
Hello.
The sun is out. It is daytime. This is not normal.
It is. It is out.
Still drinking
It
black
is
tea.
not normal. I'm drinking an energy drink. Did I ever tell you that a couple probably while I was at Cheryl's house, I had an energy drink and I thought that they were the cause of I thought that caffeine was the cause of my nausea and stuff. And it turns out that um it's actually that I had acid reflux.
Yeah, you told me that. I mean, do you have the energy drinks regularly or I feel like I always or maybe I always see you when you're like about to go on the road trips and stuff and you kind of need
Yeah,
them to
you
get
do.
going.
I do not have them regularly.
Yeah.
I did buy a thing from Costco because I was driving so much, and it's taken me a long time to get through them. Um, but yeah, so anyway, I got some medicine for it now, and now I can drink them without feeling like garbage.
So it wasn't the acid reflux or it was the acid reflux.
Yeah,
Did you find out if that's specific like food or something that causes that?
I think it's just my life. I think that's what's been happening my whole life, and it's just, I'm sure that my stomach is completely screwed up, internally. And my sister was saying that she doesn't have any stomach lining or anything like that because,
I'm sure some of that's genetic for sure, right?
well, for
Stuff like
her it's a lot of drugs. But not for everybody listening, she's not a drug
prescription
addict.
drugs.
They're prescription drugs because she's disabled. That sounded really bad for a hot second.
Yeah, it's the side effects from the prescribed drugs, it sounds like.
Yeah. So, yeah. Um, how are you?
Pretty good. We just got back from Christmas was 2 days ago, so we were in Louisville for the holiday. Went and visited family there for it's weird. The days of the week is a little off. It's Friday today, but I don't know, having Christmas right in the middle of the week is kind of
Yeah,
throws
it
a
is kind of
wrench in it.
weird.
But I took the whole week off, so I don't, I'll have to figure out how hopefully I can get back to sleep at a regular time when I got to go back to work on after the new year. But
When have you
um
been going to sleep?
I mean last night I didn't go to sleep till 2:30. But yeah, I'd love to be able to get to sleep by 1.
Yeah.
I've been pushing 2 o'clock a little bit the last few days.
Yeah. My dad wakes up at 2:30 in the morning and then he's awake for the whole day and then he takes a nap at
2:30?
yeah, because he takes a nap at noon until 4. And
Oh,
then
wow.
and then and then he goes to sleep at 9.
9 to
That's
2 and then 12 to 4.
hmm
Oh my gosh. Does he like turn
maybe
lights on
2
in
to
the
4.
house when he gets up at that time, or is he
Well,
just like,
he has his own den. So it my parents' house is ginormous, but he has his own den that he can close the doors and put the lights on. And my mom's so used to it. I mean, they've been married for 45 years. So, um but yeah,
wow,
that's what happens when you're almost 70 and you've always worked second shift. So
jeez.
I mean, he doesn't work anymore obviously, but
Does he like nap on the couch or in the a recliner, or does he like go back to bed for 4 hours?
no, he just naps in his recliner.
Okay. Is it
Yeah.
like, okay, nobody disturb him because he's napping right now, kind of thing?
We all know.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Because that'd be like, I don't know. Be like, okay, well, I can't use that room during that time because I don't want to disturb him.
Nobody uses that room except for him.
Oh, okay.
That,
So he's just in his den during his nap.
that's his room. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like that's his space. Like my mom sits in her chair next to her bed and she has a TV in front of it. And then my dad sits in the den and he has a TV. And my mom reads a lot. She doesn't watch TV all the time, but my dad watches the History Channel and Fox News and all the financial networks.
Mm-hmm. The
So,
MSNBC business kind of stuff and all that.
yeah. So, and he like gets we got him an iPad this year for Christmas, so now he can do all of his stocks on his iPad and he can print from his iPad. So,
Yeah, the AirPrint. Pretty handy.
yeah. Yeah. You should have heard him the first time he printed something. He was like, "I can print something."
Yeah, and then we were fiddling with a printer at my parents' house because we were trying to print from our phones and it just wouldn't sync up. It was like, I don't know what's going on with this.
Yeah. I wish that my label printer had AirPrint, but it doesn't. It has a Bluetooth printer feature, which is good enough. It's like good enough, but it just has to go through certain like steps. I have to like save it to files and then like find it in files from the app that is hooked to the printer, which is fine. It's just a few steps, but
Hmm.
it would have been nice if it was like an AirPrint situation, but you can't really AirPrint if you don't have a Wi-Fi network, I don't think. So,
Yeah, that's kind of what connects them is being on the same Wi-Fi network.
yeah.
And
So,
you can't like hotspot the Wi. You can't do that, right?
yeah, I don't think that it works that way. I'm not positive, but
Yeah.
yeah.
They don't have adapters. Do they have adapters that go from your phone to like a USB printer where you can actually
Huh.
print it that way? Where
I don't
it's
know.
like somewhat connected through I mean it's still kind of a USB, I guess, but
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I'm saying, I'm not upset about the fact that my label printer can print anything from my phone and I don't have to like connect it to my laptop is like the best thing in the whole world. So a
hmm.
few steps is not an issue for me, but it would have been cool for that feature, but it just doesn't have that. Um, it's
Yeah.
easy enough. Like after you do it 4 times, you're like, oh yeah, this is whatever. It's easy enough. And it's kind of nice because then you save the files with the labels so that if something goes wrong, you can reprint them.
Hmm.
But yeah. Oh, how was Christmas? Did you get any new vests?
I did not get any vests. It was just like a bat. We just pretty much got stocking stuff.
Mm.
So it's just like candy and also D loves the TJ Maxx, so we get all the like random. I got like light things for it's like a work light kind of for like the car or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you get the little strip light that you can like attach to under the stairs or whatever and get a little bit extra light or trying to think of what else. We always get like air fresheners, batteries, stuff like that. And then I got some like ice cube mold things
Oh,
making like
fun.
for making probably like old fashions or cocktails or whatever that you want bigger cubes for.
That's fun.
Hmm.
Are they
So yeah,
shaped a
those were the
certain
main
way?
things. There's one that's shaped like golf balls,
Oh, fun.
so it's like four spheres,
Yeah.
and then they have the dimples and everything, and then the other ones are just like like cubes that are just like one
Oh,
inch cubes.
I like cubes though. I think that circles are kind of like overused sometimes, but big cubes are fun.
Yeah, I like this. I think the square ones are always nice. Well, I think it
Yeah.
depends on the mold. Like we have the ball mold, but it's like plastic and it's really hard to get it out of there. So I
Yeah.
generally like the cubes or whatever because it's in silicone normally and you can actually get it out pretty reasonably.
Yeah. You should get one of those clay stamps, the metal clay stamps, and have it say like what is it called?
Coconut kiln.
The coconut kiln. You should have the coconut kiln. We could make like a little logo and then you could stamp it into the square cubes.
I could probably get one of those custom made from the place I get
Yeah.
my stamps. Yeah.
Yeah, and then when you, because it's warm
You could
enough,
just
you can
push, yeah,
just
you just push it in there and it
push it
like
into the
imprints
ice.
it.
That would be so cool,
Hmm,
right?
that'd be sweet. It'd probably be like a yeah,
An
like a
inch,
2 by 2, maybe inch and a half by inch and a half. Depends on
maybe.
how big I want it to be,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, yeah. That'd be very cool.
Yeah, I feel like that would be about the size. That'd be sweet. Right on
Very, very
top
cool.
when you pour the old fashioned over it.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, that would be really cool. Um, I got, we went like all out for Christmas this year. My family did because I think that we all know that it's like gonna be one of the last Christmases that we have together, you know?
Just because of the
Uh,
traveling, it's not like someone is passing.
yeah,
I
yeah,
hope.
nobody's dying. Um, just because just because, we are all like getting a little older and don't have as much time to go places or the money to go places, which actually is not true because me and James both have flight benefits, but um
There's no
yeah,
guarantee all of those will stay.
exactly. There's no like, well, James is probably will because he works in the industry, but mine might not. Just you never know. Andrew might just dump me. You never know.
You never know. He might leave the industry and be like, I'm done with this and sorry about your
He
benefits.
might. He might. Um I told him he could. I was like, whatever. It doesn't, I love it, but also it doesn't matter to me. Um, but I got my mom, we got my mom like all these Pyrex containers, like the glass snapping Pyrex containers to replace all the Rubbermaid, and we like made her Tupperware drawer so nice. And then I got her all these different sizes for her. She has like one drawer that she puts all of her baking stuff in. So it's like flour, sugar, brown sugar, wheat flour, stuff like that. So I got her all these different sizes and like made her baking cabinet like all nice, and it was so much fun to do that. So, and then like my brother got an iPad that he can use with the app from work. So it was like very specific. My dad got an iPad. My sister, I got her like a bunch of um stuff from Trader Joe's. You saw that stuff. And
Yeah, it was a lot of health products or beauty
yeah,
products. I guess beauty products is
if
probably
you
more.
don't go to, yeah, if you don't go to Trader Joe's and you have one in your city, the primary reason I go there is because all of their face and hair products are amazing and they're so cheap. Like this means nothing to Ryan, but they have a retinol cream that's only $8 and normally they're like 50. So, um, yeah, so they're just like super duper cheap and yeah, so it's
Is it
been a lot
like,
of
and
fun.
is it quality stuff? It's not like
Mhm. I feel like it is.
off-brand, but it's, filled with alcohols and stuff like that.
No, I feel like it is, but I also feel like the ones that are really expensive are just like the reason they make them expensive is because they can, you
Yeah,
know?
the branding and
Yeah. So, yeah, I really like Trader Joe's. And yeah, I did get something fun though. Did you see it on the interwebs?
I are you talking about the pastels?
No. Well, I did get those, but the circle thing?
Oh yeah, the circle. Is that like vintage or is that like a
No.
new thing?
No, it's not vintage. It's been out for a couple years. It's called an iris and IRIS, and it's a bronze circle, and then you can twist it, and metal makes the circle smaller, so you can draw circles, and they're like perfect, but you don't have to like you don't mess up, and it doesn't move very easily. It's heavy enough so that it doesn't move on the
Hmm.
paper very easily, so that was really exciting. I've been using that.
How, as you're drawing in the circle of the metal, how does it not push itself out? Is there a locking mechanism on it?
No, I think it's just heavy enough, like to
You have to really force it to like change the sizes.
yeah. I don't think you could force it from the inside. You'd have to use the outside to turn it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It looked pretty sweet. I saw the outside ring and I was like, you said this will help me make circles better, and I was like, that's gonna make you like one circle. How are you gonna do that? And then I saw you twist it, and it like shrunk, and I'm like, holy shit, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, it's like it's been out for probably like 5 years, I think. And but they're so expensive. And I think my mom found she found like like this random company that had it way cheaper and it didn't come with all the things in it, like a freaking case or whatever, it just didn't come with that.
Yeah.
So I think it must have been used and it was like secondhand, which fine with me. I've already made it dirty. So I mean, you know me. And once I get something, I'm gonna use it and I'm gonna
Hmm.
make it like worth its while. So
Who's the clientele that would normally use something like that? Is it for
architects,
artists or okay?
yeah, like architects, artists, like anybody that wants precision, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that doing on some blueprints or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I would guess the blueprints, they probably do people still physically draw those or do they
I
probably do them
don't know.
digitally and then they maybe they start
Yeah.
with the sketch and then they do it all like, okay, transcribe, make this into digital so we can print it
Yeah.
and make it look good.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, definitely something that I'll use for sure in my future. So, and in the present.
That's
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah,
Does
I
it tell
like,
you the diameter or how it could
yeah.
like on the adjuster, you can lock it
Yeah.
at like 10 centimeters or inches or whatever.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to explain it so people that are listening can kind of visualize it. So it's a metal ring, and the initial metal is probably 3/4 of an inch. And that ring has metal inside of it that when you spin the top of it, just like how you would move a Giffen grip to move it inward,
Hmm.
the prongs inward, you spin the top of this and it moves metal inward and it makes the metal be a circle that continuously gets smaller. Was that a good explanation?
Yeah.
Okay.
It kind of looks
And
like a portal, sort of like a.
yeah,
I'm trying
oh
to think of
yeah,
like a movie analogy where there's like a thing that like closes off like that, but I can't think of what movie
kind of
that
like
was.
Star Trek. Yeah, like Star Trek, like how like a yeah, like a portal would just close quickly,
Hmm.
or like a fan would close really quickly.
Hmm.
Um, and it has centimeter units on the outside, and it has a tiny little red arrow, and that it's 7 centimeters wide on the inside, and then when you move it, that tiny arrow goes around this ruler that it has, and so you can do it exact. So
That's pretty sweet.
yeah, it was
Because I would guess you'd want
yeah,
proportions, maybe. Maybe you'd want like, okay, I want some three
exactly.
centimeters and then some 5 centimeters and seven, so it's like
Yeah.
proportional or whatever.
And it took me a while to figure out how to use it, but I got it. Yeah, it's just like a lot easier than I mean, yeah, there's definitely always a moment where you need the big old clear one that has all the different circle sizes. That's
Hmm.
always nice, but those are really hard when you want to put a circle inside of a circle inside of a circle and keep continue to do that. And this is what that helps with.
Oh, so you don't even have to move it. You could just change the dial setting and it won't move.
Exactly. And it's so heavy and it's got like grips on it so that when you change it, it's not going to shift. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, very exciting. I mean, that's it's been fun. This year has been a lot of fun with art for me.
Yeah, I mean, I see you keep expanding your drawing medium or not mediums. Your
No, that was right.
drawing,
Yeah, that was right.
well, your mediums are widening, but you're also getting like a lot of different options in those, like the acrylics, the cheap acrylics versus like the nicer acrylics
Oh, yeah.
and then the
Yeah.
pastels and the color. I
I
don't know
didn't
if you
think
have, do you do color pencils and stuff too or no?
I got my mom got me some colored pencils and they're actually water soluble colored pencils. And I think what I've realized is that I don't really like colored pencils in themselves, but I'm excited to try them as like watercolors, like colored pencils.
Mm,
So, yeah, I think that
water
what
soluble colored pencils. I guess
yeah,
normally
so
they're waxy, right?
I think so. Yeah,
so
just a
they
little bit. They have
resist,
like a
kind of
different pigment.
like a
Yeah.
crayon sort of.
Yeah. And but I really didn't think that I would like the oil pastels all that much, and they are so fun. Very excited about the oil pastels. And she got me one that was like 72 different ones. There's like so many colors.
Oh my
And it's
gosh.
I know, and they're all it's like this Chinese company. I think it's a Chinese company or Japan, but they're just like really good. And I looked up like a review of them, and she's like, "Yeah, I have the super duper because there's like really fucking expensive oil pastels. Like the ones that they like hand make in Europe or in France are like $10 a piece, you know,
Right.
or 20. And these ones I think were reasonably priced, and they I wish I had the brand. I don't. But reasonably priced and they're good quality. So it's been a lot of fun.
I want to know what those you ever see those underglaze pastels? Did you
Yeah.
see Hope shared something with an oil pastel or a
Mm-hmm.
underglaze pastel and it was like $10 a I'm gonna say crayon, but it was $10 a pencil or whatever. But I was like,
Yeah.
if you can draw and it actually like stays through a firing, like that's kind of cool. You could
Yeah,
probably
that's really
leverage
cool.
it creatively
Yeah.
to get some of that design
Mm-hmm.
aesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah. I sold one of my little pastel drawings.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Did you send it
I
out?
I haven't sent it out because it's actually going to Joy, my friend Joy. She really wanted it, and um she's in Utah and she's traveling for the next couple weeks, so I'm just gonna bring it to her in Utah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Was it one of the? Because they're like, what are they like 4x4 or six by
Yeah.
six or something?
They're like 4x4. It was just like the piece of paper that came with the pastels. So,
Mm.
yeah,
Do you have to like seal that somehow, or is it just letting it dry longer?
I'm still trying to figure out what you're supposed to do because they're oil. So I don't know if the oil dries because like
I mean, I know like oil paintings, you gotta let them dry significantly longer because it won't
yeah,
like not set, I guess. But I don't know if you're supposed to
yeah,
like if you were shipping it, you probably wouldn't want to cover it in certain materials because it would probably scratch it
right.
or mess
I
with it
put
somehow.
I read that you can put wax paper on it, so I put wax paper on it and like covered it in wax
Sandwiched it, sort
paper.
of. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I did read that you could like cover it with like a maybe a spray, but I need to do a little bit more research into that. So,
Yeah, I would suspect those fancy paintings that are oil, they get covered in I'm gonna say like a shellac or something that kind of sets
yeah.
in,
Yeah,
so
maybe it has to
they
be
don't get
like
damaged on the top.
yeah, maybe it has to be like an oil-based clear or something that like a shellac or something like that. But also these have wax in them. So that's the other thing that's like I think they have wax in them. So wax doesn't dry, but it resists water. So I'll do a little bit more research.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Have you ever, I mean, you've seen those painting cleaning videos where they're like scrubbing the stuff off. I'm guessing that's like dirt and dust and stuff that just
Yeah.
collects on the surface, so you
Yeah. But
can
that's
take the
that's oil
shellac off.
paint. That's oil paint versus an oil pastel is more like an oil chalk, you know? I don't know if it actually dries
Yeah, I don't know.
because you don't keep them in an airtight container, you know? They come in like a box. So you
Hmm.
would think that if they dried, they'd send it to you in like a
Yeah,
airtight.
maybe it's such a low percentage of oil in them that
Yeah.
it's not enough to
Huh. Yeah,
work the same way as oil paints.
for sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So we
Um,
forgot our maker of the moment last time. I feel like this might be a good time to mention somebody that we are thinking of.
should we do two or one? Should we
I
do
only
one at
I have two written down because maybe we do two because we make up for last week that we forgot to mention one.
okay, should we do one now and then one at the end of the episode or both now?
I say we do both now, so we don't have
Okay,
to find another one or remember it again.
perfect.
And we'll put these in the show notes too, so you can look them up if you can't get to your
Yeah.
phone now.
Yeah, and just so you all know, we're starting a new thing called Maker of the Moment, and the Maker of the Moment is just people that we just randomly find on the Instagrams. And we're like, wow, that person's really cool. And it's something somebody new that we don't know. That's the goal, at least. So
Yeah. Becca said something about a certain number of followers, but
I think
it
it
could,
I think it would be cool if they were under like 5,000 followers,
yeah.
Like
Mine's
so.
right on that border. One of mine
Yeah, or
is
like
right on that
under
border.
10,
Yeah.
just not as known.
Not a, yeah, a super well known person that a lot of folks are
Yeah.
like, oh, yeah, you just found out about that person?
Yeah. Okay. You do yours first.
All right. So I got two. Am I doing both of them?
Just do the first one, Joseph.
All right. So Joseph Delphia, I think that's the right way to say it. Joseph Delphia Ceramics on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
He is out of Northern Ohio. He's atmospheric. Both my folks are atmospheric today, so I have an
Surprise,
appreciation for
surprise.
that. Yeah. So I think he is doing wood firing. Maybe there's some soda in there. Wood fire pottery. He uses terra sigillata. It's very, yeah, it's very fire centric. If you look at it, there's a lot of oranges and grays and,
It's
tans and
beautiful.
whatnot. I got one of his mugs at the Michigan Pottery Tour last year, I believe, 2023. He was at one of the stops. He's in Northern Ohio, so that's my first one. I got I got a nice mug from him. It's got some nice. It's just like the not being able to reproduce certain parts of the process, and when you see something like my mug has a kind of the movement of the flame, kind of looks like a water stream, like a river bend, like a landscape. And when
Mm-hmm.
you see stuff like that, it's like, and there was a customer of mine that just bought a soda fire cup that it looks like the flame is in the shape of a heart, sort of. And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't even see that until you mentioned that. So it's like certain things like
That's
that
so
you can
cool.
notice in some of these
Yeah.
atmospheric pots. So yeah,
Okay,
got a
cool.
got a great handle and stuff too. So appreciate that.
I just added him to our story and our highlight.
Sweet. So
Yeah.
that's my first one.
Okay. My first one is Ellen Shankin, and she's
Ellen
also
Schenken.
atmospheric.
Yeah, I think she's gas. Maybe gas reduction. I'm not sure what temperature. But if you look at her stuff, Ellen Schenken on Instagram.
Yep, Ellen Shankin. And I feel like her stuff is it reminds me of Danny Meisiger, but also it's got like, I think I really enjoy her forms a
Mm-hmm.
lot. And the fact that they're kind of like roundy and like big bellied.
Mm-hmm. She's got some kind of corset style shapes as well.
Yeah.
And it's also got a little bit of, I feel like it's got a little Stephen Hill sort of look as well, maybe with
Yeah, yeah, very,
some of the
yeah.
glaze effects. Maybe it's sprayed, but there's also some like fake wood ash glazes in there. Maybe it's actual wood ash.
Yeah,
But
I don't
yeah.
know. I mean, like, I understand that I don't normally go for people like this, but I still do very much like the wood-fired feel.
Hmm. Yeah, it definitely has like a traditional look to it.
Yeah. Yeah, she's got 9,000 followers, so boom.
Yeah, we'll see where she's at. 9921 right now.
Yeah.
We'll see if she's over the 10,000 by the time this gets out there. But
That'd be cool. I just found another one. Oh my gosh.
All right, my second one is Alex Oski, Oski from Loon Ceramics, Loon Ceramics on Instagram.
Allen?
No, Loon, Loon.
No, Allen. Allan.
What?
How do you
His
spell his
name is
first name?
Alex.
Oh, I thought you said Allen.
Alex Oski. His Instagram is Loon Ceramics, Loon Ceramics.
Got it.
So he's out of Brooklyn. He does atmospheric as well. He just built a soda kiln conversion like mine. We've been
Oh,
chatting a little bit back and forth about that. So he's got some soda work. He's also got some tighter work that's got some nice line work on it.
oh yeah, I like his geometric stuff.
It's kind of like minimalistic, but also just simple forms with the atmospheric effects of soda or wood or whatever, which I think is what you need. Like if you've got that atmospheric firing, you kind of need a simple form to really show off the
Yeah,
the
I
uniqueness
agree.
of the firing. So
Yeah, Larry Bruning always used to say, if you have a interesting glaze, a simple form. If you have a simple glaze, an interesting form, a complex form. And I've always liked that. Okay, let me add him to uh our little Instagram maker of the moment number 3. And let me tag him. Loon. Perfect. This is fun. I like doing this while we're doing it because then I don't forget to add it to our Instagram. And yeah, and then I'm adding them to a highlight too so that you guys will be able to find them when we release it. So it'll always be there, which is kind of nice.
yeah, so you
Okay.
could see that on the on the Wheel Talk podcast Instagram.
Okay, my next one is Jen Kuroki, and her Instagram is Jen EOK.
Jen,
The n-
Jene. Okay.
okay.
Jen Karaoke.
And her stuff is so cool. It's like very colorful and very modern and
Hmm.
just like a good like almost every piece I feel like has a nice gradation of color, which obviously I love. And it looks like she's selling or they're selling like their pieces. I don't know what kind of pronouns to go with that by, but they're just like fun and unique and like quirky, and I really like that. And also I enjoy people that do geometric stuff that's not perfect. It has a little bit of like organic nature to it because then it shows that somebody actually made it.
Hmm. It's not so
So,
tight.
yeah, I love a little looseness to so everything that, she's like doing curves and stuff, but then there's hand etching in it, which makes it a little bit more just a little bit more human.
Yeah, the lines aren't perfectly straight. They're not perfectly spaced out from one another. And it seems
Yeah.
like that would if I was making it, that would feel like ugh, that'd be a lot of work to make sure it, I don't know. Try to find a balance of
Yes,
like what's enjoyable to make, but also doesn't like setting yourself up to make it so painstaking that you can't keep up.
agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the incense holders that are different colors and they're kind of like concentric rings and it's kind of
I
got
think
that gradient sort of.
I'm trying to find them.
If you go to the stack of mugs where there's 9 mugs stacked up,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's the second photo.
Oh, okay.
There's a few
Oh,
different
yeah, those
incense
are
holders.
really cool. Those are really cool. Yeah, I just really like the funness of it. And her handles look really comfortable. They're cut off on the top. They look kind of weird, but I bet they're really comfortable. At least for the thumb. And she's got a cat, so.
Yeah. So she's out of the Bay Area, born and
Yep.
raised in LA. Yeah. A lot of white backgrounds with bright colors, but
She also
also
has
some
almost
that are,
10,000 followers.
yeah, she's pretty close.
Yeah.
17 off.
Yeah.
Jen will be over that by the time this comes out. But
We'll
all right.
see.
All right. So there's 4 new folks for you. Look them up.
Look them up and follow them.
I'll need
Like,
to,
follow, share.
yeah, I'll need to. Obviously, that was the two that, those were the two that I had on my list that, I didn't have any more than that for now. So I'll have to keep looking for some folks and, I'll see if I can. Obviously, I'm drawn to the atmospheric, and I'm gonna kind of support the atmospheric, and not surprisingly, because I want more appreciation for that, especially as I get into it more. But yeah, finding some people that might resonate with me that maybe you'd expect to hear that from Becca, or vice
Yeah.
versa.
Yeah, and I mean like even when I just like went back to uh even when I just went back to like the search engine, I like saw a new person that I was like, "Oh, that looks really cool," and jotted her down really quick. So, we'll share that next week.
Sweet.
Sweet. Oh, are you ready for a review?
Sure, let's hear it.
Our only review since May of 2024 is a
Yeah,
t
we need some more reviews, folks.
is a 2-star review.
2-star review. What's the subject?
Of course, it's how terrible I am. Come on, let's be honest. Okay, are you ready for this? The title is Podcast Needs an Editor, which no complaint. I mean, no, literally, we have
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Sure.
sure, that's really true. That's why we have a podcast still, is because we don't have an editor.
Hmm.
Okay. I like Ryan, comma, but Becca's style of podcasting is dot 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 not my cup of tea. She'll interrupt guests to say things that, in my opinion, don't add any value to their conversation. She also really, really, that's in caps, needs a new mic. This is from Lounge Sia KT. Lounge Sia KT.
Trying to think if is there a saying in there that I'm missing? Lounge CKT. Okay.
I think it's Sia Katie. Like Sia Katie.
Mm.
I'm not sure.
I wish
Uh,
they called out a specific like episode they were listening to because I want to
yeah,
like I would love. We've had so many interviews. It's hard to tell like when people start and when they're actually what they're listening to. So if they call
right,
out Becca was interrupting a guest on this one that I was listening to, or that gives a context of like when your mic was fucked up or whatever. Because
right.
it's not out of the question that your mic could be fucked up in some episodes because we've
Oh,
had this discussion.
and it's not even necessarily, and I'm actually using a nice mic today, but it's not actually necessarily. So if my mic is like amazing as opposed to last week's episode, you let us know and I'll continue to use this. But I haven't felt like the mic's been too bad recently, but I will say that they may be confusing the mic with my internet connection sometimes. And because I do
That's
travel full time, the internet
yeah, that's
connection can
possible.
be tricky. I don't feel like I need to like defend myself, but I will say that unless you have had an interview with three people, shut the fuck up. So, and also a lot of the times I don't see the interviewers because my internet's such garbage sometimes. So, I have to interrupt because I have no idea what's going on and when somebody will stop.
Depending on
Um,
who it is, sometimes if we do see you, you'll raise your hand to
yeah,
ask something, and it
yeah.
flows a little bit nicer, and it doesn't feel like an interruption.
Yeah. Do I know that I have a tendency to interrupt people? Sure do. Do I know that that's not one of my strong points? Well, it is a strong point, but not in the good way. Sure do. Do I care? No, because a lot of people like me because of that. See,
Yeah,
like a lot of people like me because of exactly why this person doesn't like me. And I
I feel
actually,
like you said
Isaac,
somebody else said that. Yeah.
yeah, it was Isaac. Isaac was like, I think it was, I don't know, it was one of the interviews, and I interrupted, and he goes, "God damn it, Becca, stop interrupting." And then his assistant was like, "That's why I like her because she does like interject certain things." And so, I mean, like, you can't please everybody, and
Right.
I can tell you that this podcast would be boring if it was just me, and it would be boring if it was just Ryan. So
Yep.
you get
That's
what you
true.
get, and you don't throw a fit. That's basically what you get. And the reason that we don't have an editor and the reason that we don't put too much stock into what we say and stuff, and not what we say, but like the breaks and all the things like that, is because if we did, and if we worried much more about this podcast, we wouldn't be doing it. This is a
We
part-time
couldn't keep up with the
situation.
pace. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a part-time situation for both of us, and we like it the way it is.
Hmm.
And we're the ones that put it on, so
Yeah. I mean, obviously, there's lines of where you can say, okay, yeah, we can improve certain things, but I think it just it'll naturally reveal itself over time that, okay, there's certain spots where maybe we can go on a little longer, or certain spots where we're like, okay, maybe we should look at the time clock and try to keep it within 30 minutes when we're doing the beginning part. It's just like
yeah.
little things that you figure out over time to trim time and make it a little bit easier to listen to
Yeah.
that
And
aren't
also,
necessarily cutting 15 minutes of the podcast and keeping up with that every week for 4 years,
it's been 5.
5 years.
We're going to be at 6 in August. So, like, the fact that we've done a podcast together for 6 years is, in my opinion, unbelievable. So, the fact that we've done anything together for more than 6 years is unbelievable. Like, the fact that I haven't cut out, like, you got to give props to Ryan for those ones, though, for all of that. Because, yeah, I have a pretty
Yeah.
low tolerance for keeping up with things.
Mm-hmm.
I change my mind a lot. But
Mm-hmm.
that's why you guys like me. And you know what?
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah.
The difference would be we'd have a podcast every month or every, 3 or 4 weeks. So
Yeah. And
that's
we've
the,
done
the
it.
that's the balance. You get a little more
Yep.
raw footage every week
Yep.
than filtered and edited. Maybe a
Yeah.
little
And it's
cleaner, maybe a little
definitely,
shorter. You can play
yeah.
it at a faster speed. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. It's definitely, I do feel like maybe not our quality, but our topic of discussion has maybe dwindled a little bit over the years because, I mean, we are a topic type of podcast as opposed to an interview type of podcast. So if we interviewed more, then we would likely have more consistent followers. We have gone down in stats a little, but over time they come back up right to where they usually
Hmm.
are. But initially, I think definitely the winter, we've decided the winter is a little bit
Yeah,
less
it ebbs and
busy.
flows with the time of the year. I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like people are in their studios more. We do see some bumps
Yeah.
around January, February,
Oh,
but
yes, because people are in their studios, but like in the hot months of doing shows, it definitely goes down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I would
Yeah.
hope that the value of listening to us is you're in the weeds of two people run their businesses differently, have different lives, and they different personalities that they're gaining a lot from just being in the weeds
Yeah.
this deeply for that long that you can kind of get a like we're both running into different things as we're going through
Yeah.
our businesses and we're sharing it. So hopefully they can glean some information or reach out to us if there's something that comes up and we can refer them to an episode where we talked about something. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully they're getting more value um, that way, or they're getting introduced to people that maybe they don't know as much about their business or try something
Right.
that somebody else had success with, or I don't know. But yeah,
Also, Lounge Sia KT. I don't know if your goal was to be on a t-shirt, but you may be on a t-shirt soon. Let's be clear. If you're going to bash us out in public, we're going to put it on something. Our last two two-star review is on a sticker. So, and I made a sweatshirt out of it.
do you still have that sweatshirt?
I think so. Yeah.
JW17.
JDub17. Live long and
Never
prosper.
forget.
And also, you're never gonna hurt my feelings because I don't have them. So I think like I'd be a perfect famous person because so many people already don't like me as a non-famous person that I'm just like, whatever, fuck you guys.
Yeah, I just there's so much content that's out there of the podcast that it's hard to know like somebody's complained about something and we've already it's been improved over just being on Zoom the last 3 months or six
Right.
months or whatever. Like if they listen to something in the last 6 months, is that what they're complaining about? Or are they complaining about something that's like 2 years old?
Or yeah, or like right when we started. Yeah, like if you're gonna give us a two-star review, send us an email too and like let us fix whatever you think is wrong. Like
Yeah.
we can. Unless
Unless
it's
it's a
a
personality thing where you're
personality
like,
difference.
but it's also maybe they're listening to an interview from a long time ago.
Hmm.
Or maybe it could have been a one-off interview too that maybe you didn't know enough about this person or you were
Yeah.
asking something that you did know about them, but maybe it seemed off topic, but it was like,
Yeah.
you know,
Who knows?
something you were
So
curious about. But
anyway, that's our most recent review.
yeah,
Love you lots. Um, cool, cool, cool.
I'd say thanks for the feedback. That's what I say.
Thanks, thanks for the feedback. We won't do anything with it. Um, I won't. Uh,
I told you
uh,
that's what I say to people sometimes, right? When they're kind of rude and they're giving me some shit. I just say thanks for the feedback,
thanks for the feedback.
which is basically like fuck off, but in a nice way.
Yeah. You know what I like is when, well, obviously unsolicited advice is an interesting moment, but when you have like companies like say, like when I was at Inseca 2 years ago and or maybe it was last year and Dimitri from L&L Kilns had brought out the plug-in fire. The he like showed me a picture of it and I was like, I don't think it needs a peephole. Maybe you should put a handle there. And now there's a handle. And like I love it when companies uh remember like, they want feedback from people. By the way, he asked me like if I had anything to talk about. But like I mean that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
It feels like you actually matter as a customer when you say something like that and they're like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." You know? Uh that's why I like L&L so much.
Mm-hmm. Because I would guess a lot of these really big companies and like corporate company, like they can sample like test this out, like sample group or what do you call it? Product
Yeah, 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 yeah. I think it's sample
user it's
group.
like user test or what like you can test it out with folks to see what they think and get their feedback. kind of like the commercials, like they run commercials and see like people's sentiment of how that
Yeah,
resonated from one to the other, and like smaller companies, quote unquote smaller, can't do that. They just got to rely on, folks in house that are talking about it and oh, like I never opened my kiln or I prop my kiln or, why would you need to look
exactly.
in your kiln that's that small with a peep or oh,
Yeah,
I like to have the handle here or,
exactly. And you know what's crazy and awesome is that in the newer models of the plug-in fire, because I had mentioned, I was like, yeah, it would be awesome if the handle was actually on the left side because I like to pick up the kiln lid and reach in with my right hand if I'm getting something hot because I'm right-handed, so that makes more sense. But with the way that which was one of the first ours are, which was one of the first products of the plug-in fires, the handle's on the right side, and so you have to pick it up, but you have to like kind of cross your arms to pick it up and reach in,
hmm.
or you pick it up with your right hand and reach in with your left. And now they told me that actually in the newer versions, you can actually turn the lid upside down and put the
Oh,
handle
really?
on the left side. Yeah. Like, how cool is that?
I bet most
Like,
people probably don't even know you could do that.
yeah. And I think that I'm pretty sure that's
It kind of depends on
possible.
where the latch fits for the lid, I suspect, because that's
Yeah.
probably not flippable.
I do think that you have to, I bet I could do it still. I do think that you have to switch something around in it, but like,
I
you have to
suspect all
do
they'd need is holes, different holes on the where the lid screws on, and you can just move it to the other side.
something like that.
Just
Yeah, I think
I
that
don't
there's a
know.
little maneuvering within like for the lid lift um sensor, but other than that, I believe it can be done, which I think is so cool. Like it's just like a simple little product shift that they did because somebody was like, "Oh yeah, that would have been cool." You know?
Yeah, it's not a big undertaking to adjust little, especially if they're doing a lot of that in-house. If
Yeah.
they're getting the pieces cut, they're like, oh, well, we can adjust little things, and you know, it doesn't have to be like a complete overhaul. Like, okay, this is version 2 of the plug
Right.
and fire. It's like
Yeah.
version 1.2 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And like you never realize, I mean, like you said, like those big companies, they have product testing groups and like sometimes I forget that these companies are small and small things can happen, you know? Like four people
Yeah,
are working on that specific kiln and that's it. So like something small can just change and they're building them by hand and they have people that if you message or email them or message them, they respond to you. And I think that's just really cool. I've really enjoyed working with L&L this year. And by the way, I don't know if you understand that this is our L&L ad, but I've I've really enjoyed working with them this year, but also I especially enjoyed seeing the facility that they have that I wasn't able to like that I got to see this year and kind of like realize how teeny tiny it is in retrospect, you know.
yeah.
Yeah. Also in congruent with how cool we think LNL is, we thought we'd reach out to people
Or have you
and
reach out to us?
or yeah, we're going to tell you to reach out to us if
Yeah, so if you bought an L&L kiln, it doesn't have to be a plug and fire, but if you bought a plug and fire, if you bought a regular kiln from listening to us on the Wheel Talk,
yeah,
please
like
message us
we
or
were an
email us.
influence.
Yeah, if our talking about it helped you make the decision easier, it doesn't have to be solely from us talking about it, but like if we had an impact, email us at wheeltalkpodcast@gmail.com and we're going to give away something to the first 9 people that message us or email us,
Yeah.
and we're going to ship you something.
Nothing huge, just a little token of our
Just a
appreciation.
little, yeah, a little thank you. It's hard to track. Sometimes we get stories that people share and they tag us but those are, it's hard to keep track of those. So if you're
Yeah.
listening to this now and you ended up, I know there's at least a couple people that I can think of off the top of my head that have mentioned us. And I don't know there's probably plug and fire folks that I'm not thinking of too that have probably tagged
Hmm.
us, but it's hard to track those too. So if you're hearing this, message us or email us. I would say probably email is probably better, and we'll
Yeah.
get your
And
shipping address.
we'd love to hear you regardless of you know, if you're one of the nine first people, we'd love to hear regardless because
Yeah.
uh we would like to yeah, we would like to know. Just it would be good to know.
Yeah, even if it's like, oh, I got this and I had to, I had some issue and I had to reach out to them and, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, we'd like to hear about it. So,
Yeah. Speaking PS, I it's now firing at the kiln my plug and fire is the Bluesmobile is uh out in the garage right now and it did its first bisque on the
mm.
homeland.
What were
And
you biscuing? Did you make some new the slipcast bowls?
I made some I made some slip cast bowls and I also am working on new earrings. So you remember how I was going to do hearts and um stars
Mm-hmm.
and make them round. That's what I'm doing right now. So,
Sweet.
yeah.
Yeah, mine's resting for a little bit, so I don't have anything urgent to get fired, but
Yeah. I legitimately I know that I have the other the Scut firebox, but I legitimately don't know what I would have done this year without the plug-in fire. It would have been so much of a more difficult year for me. So,
yeah,
it I mean just like the extra space has been a lifesaver. So, pretty awesome.
pretty sweet.
Where
All
can you
right.
find all the things?
So you can find all that at hotkilns.com.
Hotkilns.com. This is our
All right.
last Hot Kilns, uh, our
Of
last Hot Kilns
2024.
ad of 2024. What a year.
Yeah. All right. What are we talking about today?
We are talking about 2025.
Mm-hmm. We
Boom.
talked at length about 2024 recap last week. If
Length.
you're hearing
And
this, go back and listen to that if you want to kind of hear some of the influences of what's leading to what we're talking about today.
yeah, and sorry for the like hour-long discussion about Becca's finances.
Hopefully that was helpful to some people.
I hope so. I hope so. I did talk to Heidi and told her that happened, and she was like, "You should post it. Like, you should post what you actually made, because a lot of people do actually make that much,
Mm-hmm.
instead of making 60,
Yeah.
50, $125,000."
Yeah. I feel like I was recently listened to uh Kurt on a different podcast that was more art business focused. It was not a ceramic one.
Mm-hmm.
And he mentioned, yeah, some people share the numbers of their recaps of the year. And I don't know, he got a little it gets a little iffy when you get to a certain point because then people look at you a certain way because they're like when the numbers get really big, it's hard to actually like realize the the reasoning behind why like it just seems it comes across as like greedy because it's like oh well like you can just schlep these pieces for that much money and if you're making that much money then you must be greedy or
Right.
whatever versus like oh, okay you don't know that he wants to spend 200 grand on building a studio or whatever it costs to build a studio.
Or pay employees, or do
Yeah,
certain things. Yeah, exactly.
have people help him meet the demand. Like why is that such a bad thing?
It's so wild. It's so wild. Like this. I don't know if it's this country or just the world is so offended by people that make money and offended by people that don't make any money. Like, you have to make a certain amount of money to be in the club, you know? But then if you make way too much money, you're disgusting. And if you make zero money, you're pathetic. So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, and
It's
it's
like if
like,
you make so much money, like we can't ask Kurt any information about how he got to where he is because it's just coded in this.
yeah.
Like we can't relate to you because you're in a different sphere. So it's like, there's nothing that can be gleaned. It's like that's not real. Like
No, see,
really?
like, fuck off. Yeah, like, you can learn anything from anybody. You know what's funny is that my sister actually went to, oh, I was going to tell you this, and I thought you might find this interesting. Um, my sister yesterday went to my neighbor's or my parents' neighbor's son-in-law is friends with this guy and the guy who started Fire, um, like the financially independent retire early.
Oh,
That
yeah.
that whole thing, he's the guy that started it. He lives in like Longmont. And so she like went to this guy's house yesterday and uh, they were like making new headlights for a Prius, even though the person that owned the Prius was probably a fucking millionaire. And but they were too cheap, so they wanted to like remake them. And like this guy who's a bajillionaire, uh, like is cutting his son's hair in the garage because he's too cheap to get his son's hair cut somewhere else and like
Hmm.
but his net worth is probably I don't know like $100 million, some shit like that. And but he like has a car that's I mean he has a Tesla, but it's like the first Tesla. It's probably like 10 years old or some shit like that. And yeah, it was pretty I just thought it was kind of cool. She was invited to a party last night at their house, but she couldn't go just because she wasn't feeling the best. But yeah, I would have loved to talk to him. That would have been really cool because I really enjoy the fire system.
Hmm.
For those who are not aware, I'll say it again. It's financially independent, retire early, fire. And essentially it's debt free. You retire like Ryan's on the track for fire, I think.
Yeah.
So I mean you could be if you wanted to retire.
Right.
But yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's a lot of the reason why I don't have any debt and stuff like that. It's very important to me. Not that I'm gonna retire early, but
Yeah, and each person has their own story and their own variables going on. So like you do really have to deep dive into a lot of these recap posts. It's you can't just look at the recap posts and compare them apples to apples if you just look
yeah.
across all of them because it's location specific. It's how much expenses do they have? What kind of like family situation do they have? Are they
Right.
married? Do they have kids? Are they the sole provider? Do they, you know, do they have the ability to, you know, have a studio somewhere else, or can they, do they have to, do everything at home? Do they have the support system to like help them actually like ship the stuff if they need, assistance or other people to help in the process?
Do they have $1 billion in debt that they like from school or from something early on in their life? Because I mean, like
Yeah,
all of us have made frustrating financial decisions that have affected us in our future. Like you don't know that. Like
yeah,
they may be making $150,000 and putting 50,000 of that towards debt. Like you have no idea.
yeah. Or it could be that they have like an illness. Maybe they
Ugh.
beat maybe they beat cancer like 10 years ago or 15 years ago before they even
Yeah.
got into pottery. And then they're
Yeah, and
like
they have a
they
bunch of
still have
medical debt.
medical debt that they're paying, or they have physical limitations of I can only work 4 hours a day because my
Yeah.
body can't physically handle that. So like you've got your own variables that impact what you can and can't do, and how much input you can put into the business.
Yeah, for
Or maybe
sure.
you just don't it's not even something you want to like push to be the sole business. You just want it to be something that kind of evens itself out and
Yeah.
keeps you excited to be doing it.
Yeah, I had a friend a long time ago when I was at Bruning and her whole goal in having a pottery business was to pay her car insurance. That was it. She was like, I don't need to make a ton of money, but I want to be able to pay my car insurance. I'm like, that sounds great. That's a
Yeah.
great goal.
Pay your studio fees, pay all your must-haves to make the work,
To and
and
then pay your
then
car insurance.
make enough money to pay your car insurance.
Like boom. Like nothing wrong with that. I
Right.
also am like, I feel like this last year I've continuously been so much more angry when people are like, you should do this as a business. Like the whole term that's just like, oh my God, this hobby is so great for you. You should do this. You should sell these. I'm like, no, 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 no. Sell them if you want to, but don't sell them because you need to. Like, no, no, no.
Yeah.
Hobbies are really important.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a I wonder if there's I want to say consistency or there's correlation between the people that say that. Have they actually had small business? Are the people more likely to say that ones that haven't had small
Oh
businesses
yeah,
likely to say it?
probably,
Because I feel
probably.
like it's kind of a, folks that have had quote unquote like regular jobs that
Yeah.
tend to say that. And maybe it's
Uh-huh.
because they had a dream of making something and they never saw enough appreciation for it. And they were like, I wish
Yeah.
I would have done a business of that. So they're trying to like encourage people that they
Yeah.
see have that talent that
Yeah.
maybe they didn't have at that time, or they just see potential and they're like, I think that would be marketable. Like you should do a business out of that.
Right. Yeah. And it is hard. I think it's really hard to do a hobby and just like not sell the things that you make. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't sell them, but maybe just let, yeah, like it's really hard. Like it's like these paintings that I've been doing or the pastels or something. Like I put it online and I was like, hey, if you want to buy this, name a price. I don't really care what price it is. It could be $5. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'll ship it to you. But that leaves all of the stress out of it. It's like, I was going to make it anyway. If you want it, that's great. If you don't, also great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, there's got to be some sort of a compromise. I don't really know that compromise, but I feel like I'm kind of getting there. There has to be some sort of a compromise with keeping something enjoyable as a hobby, but still paying the expenses that you've potentially incurred, you know?
Right.
Because I think that it is important to not have the hobby suck out all of your money, obviously, you know,
Mm-hmm.
selling a few things, but once it gets overwhelming, you have to like be able to recognize that. And
Yeah. I think there's also a kind of a gray area of, it seems like some folks want to charge for every minute they're doing something. Like I
mm,
need to get paid for every minute I'm working toward this thing.
yeah.
And it's like, did you like, I don't know. That's kind of like, do we get paid? Um, I don't know. It just doesn't feel like a job that you should compare it to an hourly wage, but you have to at least recoup some of those costs, like you're saying.
Yeah. Like your time is valuable, but if you're doing it as a hobby, your time is here's what I think. If you're doing pottery as a hobby, your time is therapy, but your products are worth money. So the time that you've spent because it's a hobby, because you're deeming this as a hobby, is valuable as a therapeutic,
It's also education. You're
yeah,
gaining
therapeutic and
education in your
education.
time. You're spending
Yeah.
your time or money
Yeah.
to learn this thing where you could be paying someone else to learn it.
Yeah. So yeah. And then you have to ask your question, when does it become where your time is worth the money and it's no longer a hobby? Maybe that's the difference between a hobby and a job. A hobby is when your time isn't worth money, and a job is when your time is worth money.
Hmm.
Because if it's a hobby, you do have to pay into it at some point, right? We should look up the definition of a hobby.
I mean, the easy line for me would be if you're making a profit, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I mean
Okay, it
that's
says
like
an activity done regularly in one's leisure time for pleasure. So,
for pleasure. Okay, yeah, leisure time for pleasure. So
I really think that's where it is. It's the time. The
yeah,
time makes it a hobby, not the pieces. So,
and you could also choose to do like for the studio being paid accordingly for the
yeah.
work being produced. Like you could be spending your time doing other things,
Yeah.
and that dollar figure is an incentive for you to spend your time doing the thing that you're being paid for.
Hmm.
So like to say that money is not a factor in that is just not realistic. Like of course money
No.
is a factor of why I'm spending my time doing that.
Yeah. Hmm. Interesting. That was a fun little offshoot
Mm.
conversation. Okay, let's talk about 2025. We haven't really
Yes.
talked about wheel talk goals of 2025. We haven't talked about that on our own, but I feel like we're pretty in sync.
No,
So,
we have not.
but we're pretty in sync, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what we did last. I mean, last year I think we talked about probably number of guests we wanted to interview.
Yeah.
I don't personally see that changing much. You know,
Mm-mm.
I feel like we pretty consistently did. I think we did 12 to 15, something like that.
Yeah. I like that. I like that number.
It feels reasonable. It's not painstaking to, we always
Hmm.
keep a list of folks that we want to talk to. Some
Yeah.
folks we
We
bring
know it.
back that we've already talked to. It makes it really easy to interview them. Or,
Yeah.
I was talking with somebody recently and they were like, um, it's like it's less of an, when they listen to us, they feel like it's less of an interview and more just a conversation.
Hmm.
So it's like, you're not really like an interview podcast. You're like a conversation podcast.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's like, that's fine. Like, if it doesn't feel like an interview and it feels like a conversation, I think that's a positive.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that I would like to bring people on to talk about very specific things this year. Not that we don't do that normally, but like I really want to get Deanna on to talk about jewelry and if you're going to start doing jewelry, like what you need to get like going, you know? It'd be fun. It would be fun to have somebody that's like a really like Amy for hand building, like talk about what you need for hand building and what like specifically you should push for, and then have somebody on for throwing as well. And um to talk about like the very basics of like if you want to get involved in this, this is what you should be looking for. I think that would be really cool for 2025. We're already for sure going to do the jewelry one.
Mhm.
So hopefully in the next month. But I can't think of anything else that would be very like we have jewelry. Maybe sculpture. Sculpture would be a fun one if we could get somebody that's only sculpture. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, we dipped our toes in that a little bit with Jackie Head, just talking about the
yeah,
installation and large project kind of side of things, but not like ceramic building sculpture, like
yeah.
the art
So
side of
yeah, so maybe we talk to Christina Orthwine.
Earthwine. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that would be really fun. I know we say this every year, but I finally want to really talk to Danny. I mean, we've been trying to talk to Danny for like 4 years.
hmm Yeah, there's plenty to be get chatted with him about.
Yeah. Hello. Oh, hi, Dottie. How you doing? Dottie really likes my parents.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's thriving here. She gets to sleep on a chair all day long.
Did she go outside that much?
I let her outside in the morning and then she comes back in. Yeah.
Nice.
Typically she ends up in the van. And then I find her in the van and then we go inside.
Does she jump up through the port in the back too, or do you have
She
to kind
will.
of let her? Okay.
She will, but while I'm here, the door's just always open like at your house.
Okay. It's not that cold there?
No, it's like 40 to 50 degrees here.
Okay. Yeah, it's 50 today here in northern Kentucky, so it's pretty nice.
Yeah.
There she is. There she
There she
is.
is. Yeah. Okay, so what else for the podcast? Do you like the sponsors we have? Would you like to get any more?
Yeah, potentially another one. We'll see how the renewals go, those conversations go with Speedball and Kiln Shelf and L&L. We kind of get to the end of those contracts here soon, and some of them have already ended. So, you know, figuring out the right fit, and I'm sure talking with some folks at Claycon West and Ensika are gonna,
Mm-hmm.
kind of let those relationships grow organically and naturally, and see where it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of its own separate thing, kind of behind the scenes. But yeah, I mean, it is important to make sure the podcast is viable, because like we were talking about the hobby thing, like the podcast was a hobby for however long until we even
Yeah.
got our first sponsor. So I mean, it was for fun, it was therapeutic, it was, obviously helping our business savvy and understanding more about how to improve our own businesses. But, once we get the sponsorships, there's also, you know, okay, we got to keep up with the consistency. Um, we have to, talk about the sponsors in a way that is, you know, not just reading off a list, but is also like,
Yeah.
hey, we've experienced this specific thing with these products, and this is what we can talk about it and why it
And
might
we
work for
yeah.
you.
And we have to like it.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
But yeah, that's kind of the only other podcast stuff that I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm. What about pot swap? We kind of talked about um
Yeah, we talk about some stuff offline that we might want to figure out. I don't know.
yeah.
I feel like it's always been, for me. It seems like the part that is hardest to that's consistently going to be an issue and hardest to control is making sure that people follow through and like people receive their pots. Like the percentage of pots
Yeah.
received is one of the hardest parts that it's so limiting what we can do to improve that. But
Yeah.
you kind of put the steps in there. Like last year we did, okay, we're 1-to-1 swapping people that are international, so that hopefully um there's a little more responsibility and accountability,
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, like I'm letting this person down, they sent me something, so I need to send something in return. We thought maybe that would have an impact. I don't know how much of an impact that made.
I think it just made more sadness.
I mean, it makes it a little easier to assign people, but and then this year we were hoping, okay, well, if we put a dollar figure on it, if people have to pay $5 to be in it, is that going to be an incentive to follow through? Um, is the matching people up with US and Canada going to be easier? You're not looking at exorbitant shipping fees that maybe you've had if you were sending it across, you know, the ocean. Is that going to
Yeah.
help with reliability?
Right.
Shipping to other countries gets complex regardless when you're dealing with customs and
I
all of
feel like
that.
we've
Like
we've probably had the least amount of people that haven't gotten pots this year
so
so
far
far
that we know of. Yeah.
that we know of. And that's been a really good sign. There is some thoughts about maybe making a whole website for Pot Swap next year to um, work through some of those issues and to be able to have more reliability as far as reaching out to the people in Pot Swap. So that's good.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we get emails randomly, even as recently as like late December, people asking who their assignment was, and we sent these out November 1st. Like
Yeah.
that seems more of an issue this year than in the past. I don't know
And the
the
reason of
reason
that,
behind that.
I think it was because of the Apple Pay. We made a mistake in allowing people to pay for um the $5 sign up fee with Apple Pay, and so people just automatically, you know,
Use whatever
inputted
their
their
Apple account is, and it's
right.
maybe some old email address that they don't access anymore.
Right. Or it's their husbands or it's, their partners or what have you. Or their wives. And so, or in one instance, a cousin. Like,
Yeah, somebody signed up
yeah.
for somebody else and they were like, well, this is my email. And then we're sending the POTS up assignment to that email. And it's like, oh, well, I did this for somebody else.
Yeah. So like, that was a blunder on our part. So next year it won't be with Apple Pay, but I do feel like we're in the going the right direction.
Yeah, it's step by step. I mean,
Yeah.
having it on the website and having people pay for it, I think that did obviously that helped other issues that we had before. We had past issues with addresses being wrong. We
Yeah.
I don't know that we actually had that issue at all this year. I think we pretty much eliminated it,
Yeah, I think that we pretty much eliminated it as well, which was
which
really
is
great.
yeah, so
Other
you
than
know,
addresses being completely wrong, like in the wrong state, but
yeah,
that
yeah,
was
or
very specific.
some people had a past address that they needed to change it
Yeah.
to or whatever. And that's
Yeah.
probably an Apple Pay thing as well.
Definitely, yeah.
I know it doesn't make it easy to update your address in there as you're purchasing it. But yeah, we eliminate some problems and then some other problems creep up or, are exacerbated that maybe were smaller problems in the past.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's part of why, I mean, that's part of what the money is helping us figure out this year,
Yeah.
especially looking to next year. And then, making it like we're more bought in because in the past it was totally volunteer. We did start asking for donations a couple years ago, but it wasn't, I wouldn't say it's like a money making venture now, but it's like, it's something that
It's worth it.
it's worth it and we have more of a responsibility to try to fix some of the things that we can fix. It's not, because
Yeah.
if we wanted, we could just open it up to like 5,000 people and just not close the things and just keep taking
Yeah.
people. But that's going to exacerbate the emails and issues that we have and the headaches that we get from being on the behind the scenes part of it because we're responsible for that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, figuring out the right balance. And then also there's stuff that's going to come up with a new website. Like, are we going to have all the information, all the answers of how people are going to do certain things off the bat? Like, probably
Right.
not.
Probably not. Nope. We're learning as you're learning. We're
Hmm.
learning as you're messing up. We're all we're all kind of like learning at the same time, which I think is actually kind of fun. And like, we got an email today, and I don't know if you've read it, but it was somebody saying like how much fun they had, and they were like, I wanted to send you an email just to tell you that the experience was lovely.
I
And
did not see that one.
yeah, and it was like a genuinely heartfelt email, and I was like, yeah.
We get one out
And
of every 100 emails that we get or like that.
yeah, and I'm retracting my I won't do this next year because I did tell Ryan that I was not going to do it next year.
That was an
Um,
off-air mention. That was not on the air that you said that. You didn't
that
shock
was
me
an
on the air with that, but
no, I didn't. That was an off-air situation. But after thinking about it and being past the part that's the worst part, It is a fun and lovely thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there
So
will be
yeah.
changes with that.
Yep, for sure. I'm excited about it personally. I think it'd be really
Yeah,
cool.
I'm not excited about the time and investment it's going to take to figure out those things on the new website platform,
I'll do it. It's fine.
but I know it will be worth it
Yeah,
by the time some of those things are ironed out.
for sure. Yep, yep, yep. Okay, let's talk about your personal goals.
All right, I'm gonna say the biggest personal goal or business goal that I'm gonna try to have a better understanding of this year is I got a few people ask about this, the time I actually spend doing
Mm,
things. Historically, I've never tracked that. The only tracking I've done has been when when Erica works for me or when Rachel works for me. I have hours of how much time they're spending doing certain things. I kind
yeah,
of stopped tracking the individual tasks, but I kind of want to get a better understanding of, if somebody asked me how many weeks do you spend throwing in the studio, I can give you a guess, but I don't really know that it's accurate. You know,
right.
how much time do you spend in the business every week? I don't know. I mean, I can tell
Yeah.
you how much time I spent driving to and from a show and how much time I spent packing for the show the day before, but like how much time it took to make all the pieces that I'm taking to the show, I can't get that granular. I would totally be pulling a number out of my ass. So that's like I'm going to say stretch goal, but I'm going to start somewhere, get it going, and then see where those improvements could be made. What's worth tracking and what's not worth tracking. Uh, Giving a best estimate is probably going to be part of it, but I have ideas of how I'm actually going to tangibly do that.
I have you ever seen those like apps that you can track employees?
No, what are those apps?
Like they're basically time apps for tracking how long employees are there for. And I was wondering it might be kind of cool if you had one of those apps and then and then if you had one of those apps and then you instead of having employees, you had certain tasks that were quote unquote employees. And so you put like throwing as one of the employees, business work as one of the employees, and all you'd have to do is like hit I signed in, you know, clocked in at this time and I clocked out at this time, and then it could automatically track that.
So I just looked up best time tracking apps. These are just I don't know what they do and if this applies, but Toggle Track is one, Mem Time, Tracking Time. They kind of show. It looks more, yeah.
But maybe that's like a start, you know?
My starting option was going to be do what I already know how to do, which
Yeah.
is making a Google form that I keep logged in on an iPad in the studio. And whenever somebody's going in and out or doing something in the studio, I think it'll be easier for Rachel and Erica to do and have a drop down list of all the tasks that they could possibly work on. Have the date. They fill out the date. They put the tasks that they worked on. They put how many hours. And that form includes multiple. So they could log like I prepped clay for an hour. I sanded pots for 30 minutes, and I did whatever else for whatever. Submit it. It goes into my spreadsheet, and then I do the analysis on the spreadsheet. It automatically calculates it. It buckets it by the activity, by the month if I want to do it by a quarter, and then I'll fill out the same thing. That was my initial stab because I already do that for my income and expense sheets tracking.
What if you had a QR code that you just took a picture of and it went to the form automatically and you filled out the form and then it went into the
What do I need a QR code?
So like instead of having them fill it out on an iPad, they could just take a picture of the QR code, fill out the form, and then it goes into the Google form.
I mean, they could do that too.
Yeah. I'm just thinking because like I remember when Rebecca Graves had QR codes on the side of her
Yeah.
kilns for like a kiln log.
Hmm.
It might be easier for like, you know, Erica to do it, like have a QR
I
code by
yeah.
the glazing or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I was
So,
thinking the having a dedicated device that's for that could be like, did you fill out the form? Or did like, because I feel like if they have to remember to scan it, they're gonna forget to scan it. But if it's like, okay, I gotta make sure I fill this out on the, like, I don't need to pull my phone out and scan it. And what, I mean, that's probably a
well,
good idea to have it too. But
I
having
think
the
you should ask
device
them
there,
which one's easier for them or more, you know. I think that I'm just guessing that
I mean,
Rachel,
I'm gonna do that on my phone. I mean, I
yeah,
can tell them, hey, here's the, like, I will set it up on your phone as an
yeah,
app on your home screen. You click on it and you fill it out.
yeah, that's a good idea.
Or you can, like, it's only two people. I mean, I'm not dealing with like 10
Right,
employees and be like, okay, you have to do the iPad if you need it. But it could just be like,
right,
okay, like you just pull the iPad up, you pull up to this, you tap on the home screen button, just like I'm gonna have on your phone,
right.
and they all have access to it and they can fill it out themselves. So yeah, I think that's the approach I'm gonna go, so that we just build a habit of doing it every day. I'm gonna have to do the same. And yeah, my list is gonna be very long of tasks, but and then just you know, uh talking about like why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it to micromanage and figure out how much time you're spending doing and get a quota of, okay, normally you spend 40 minutes
Right.
prepping this much. Like I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it so that I can understand, am I charging the right amount, or like how much profit am I actually making on these things
Right,
with all
because of
the
your
tasks
time.
involved.
Yeah.
And then
Wait,
in
I have a
relation to
question.
that, okay, go ahead.
What, oh, maybe you were just about to say this. Would you incorporate a time, like how much cost you think this should take per hour? Or
I think
like
it'll
your,
get to that. Well, I was going to build a table of forms with the steps that are involved for those forms and put
okay.
some time involved there. So, like, this mug takes X number of minutes to throw, X number of minutes to handle, trim, quote unquote, like loading, like, so I should have a time value and then dollar figure associated with that product,
Okay,
material
and
cost,
for the people listening, will you be selling this next year for $5 each so that people can do it
selling
themselves?
the tracking thing.
Yeah. You should. You should just
I
sell the
suspect well, I was thinking the tracking thing could be part of my bookkeeping workshop thing that I add, but maybe it's a separate thing. I mean,
Well, it seems
some people have
very,
asked me about time tracking. I mean, you could just like the bookkeeping thing, you can customize this stuff, but I think the time tracking could be valuable to more people
yeah,
on its
and
own.
it could be valuable to people in all sorts of creative
Yeah.
um not just well I think bookkeeping also is for everybody, but I it seems to me that the time tracking would be more self-explanatory than the budgeting. It's
Oh yeah.
it's just like one sheet that's like
I mean,
enter.
honestly, it could also be a funnel of the people that like the time tracking and they can get a habit of filling out a form each time they do something.
Yeah,
That's a good habit of building, so that,
that's a
oh, you
super good
like
habit.
that? Do you want to do that for your income and expenses? Because
Right,
if you're
exactly.
used to doing that, you do the exact same thing for the income and expenses. You just do it less frequently because you're not
Yeah,
getting a check every day. You're not doing a show every day or buying stuff every day. So,
and then you make an app and then you sell the app.
I mean, I'm not
Boom.
going to do that, but
Passive income, Ryan. Passive income.
I'm not that's a lot of time. I'm not doing that. But yeah, well, maybe someday. But yeah, that's the goal. Obviously, I want to try this out and get used to it and work out the kinks on my own
Hmm.
before marketing it to people to start using, and then they have issues and I have the same issue that I didn't know
That's
about.
why I said next year. Definitely do it next year instead of this year.
So, yeah, I mean, that's basically how the bookkeeping workshops came to fruition. I started using it, added features to it that I needed, and saw value in, and then yeah. So I think that's the that's the big goal of the year. We'll see how. I feel like it'll be a lot of work to track my own work because I'm doing it daily, and it's hard to actually set aside time to actually think through that every single day. But it'll start as an estimate, and then I'll get better at estimating over time and actually like looking at a clock and it doesn't have to be like, okay, I spent 5 minutes going to the bathroom during this thing, so I'm not going to count for it. And like, it doesn't have to be that
No.
granular. It's like, how much time does it realistically take you to do these tasks?
That's why I think it would be interesting if it was like you could like scan a QR code and it automatically started something and then you scanned it when you were done and automatically stopped it. And then at the end of the day, you
Mm,
could go in and fill in like how much of each thing you did, you know?
mm.
That would be interesting because it would be a lot easier than going in and like, putting in all the information at each time. You could do like an end of the day review of those
I
scans,
mean, you could do that with just submitting a form and then it do the calculation of if I find a thing from the same day, I look at the one that's in close proximity in time and I do the
Yeah.
math. But then you have to remember to actually submit it after you get done with something too.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
right when you get done with something, because if you forget, it might screw up your calculation.
Yeah.
But it could just be a
Anyway,
simple, like maybe we're overthinking this. Like just set a timer. Like we all have stopwatches on our phone. Just like start the stopwatch.
yeah. We do overthink things. That's something that we're very good
And
at,
then you
you
just
and I.
stop it and you just log the thing with the stop. Like you don't have to log everything you did that day. You could just log that one task and just submit
Yeah.
multiple things each time you do it. You
Yeah.
do a different task. So, yeah. Do you have a big goal or a big um thing you're thinking of for this year?
Well, I guess my biggest goal would be to get a job. Uh, which doesn't, it's not, obviously that's a weird goal for this podcast, but I would like to get a job with Speedball. But I'm not in a hurry. And so I think that I sufficiently this last year like taken it easy. I've had a really easy year. So I think I need to get like back to not having an easy year, essentially, like working a little harder. Um, as discussed last week, this was all intentional to have an easy year this year. So, yeah, so I think that I would like to make $50,000
Straight revenue.
revenue, not profit, revenue. And that's my goal. And I really actually do want to figure out the wholesale stuff. And I think I'm going to glean on Andrew a little bit for the wholesale stuff. And and also get my Etsy up and running. I think that I finally figured out a good compromise of the jewelry.
Hmm.
Uh, Depending on how this rock tumbling session goes today, I think I figured out a good compromise. And I'm gonna get kind of back to the roots and kind of get it back up so it's something consistent and something, last year it was, I had like a really good start, but I started using porcelain and that porcelain really threw me for a loop because it got so dirty and everything like,
What was your initial like earrings that you made? Were they the hoops that were
yeah,
like the red hoops with the bright colors and
yeah.
the br the white hoops or the speckled hoops with
They were speckled. So I want to get back to speckled clay and I want to get back to red clay. That's what I want to focus on this year and I'm doing it a completely different process than I started with, but I also want to add the silver so it creates like a nice combination of silver, like a rustic plus that silver. Um I felt like the porcelain was very static. It was like perfect, and I didn't like that.
Hmm.
It,
Well, I
you
mean,
know,
the porcelain's supposed to look white and clean and
exactly.
like
And so I need a little bit
simple
more. I need a little bit more movement. Not movement, but I need a little bit more uh rust.
variability.
Yeah, and like rusticness almost to be able to be like dirty and wearable because I still want to do underglazes as opposed to like stroke and coats potentially. So, but I might kind of, venture into a clear glaze at some point. But regardless, yeah, I would like to do at least I want to do 10 to 20 workshops this year. I think I could do
That's a
that.
lot.
Yeah. I averaged I averaged $500 per workshop this last time, even with that was with the cut.
Hmm.
So if I did 20 workshops at $500, that's 10 grand. So
Yeah, 1/5. That'll get you a fifth of the way.
yeah, so I feel like, and then I can always have the opportunity to sell stuff at the workshops. I
Right.
didn't tell you that I'm doing a workshop with my mom's friends.
Oh, you told me that.
Yeah, we're doing it at the kitchen table. So, thankfully
Sweet.
my mom has a very large kitchen table, but I charge them way less because obviously we're at my parents' house, so I don't have to, you know,
Pay
pay
to
a
host it,
studio
and yeah,
and
and they're
and
not
my
taking
mom
a
did
cut,
mo
I suspect.
yeah, my mom did most of the work getting people. It's all our Bible study people and so yeah, doing that
So
on the 3rd.
10 to 20 workshops. How many
Mm-hmm.
workshops did you do this year? Are you including the virtual workshops or just
No, I'm not including the
specifically
virtual workshops.
jewelry workshops?
This year I have to look at my calendar. And I did, let's see, um, one,
I did one at the Beals too.
I did, okay, yeah, two, three, four, five. I think I did six.
6.
Yeah, and I know all of those people would have me back.
Hmm. And most of those were in the month of November, but also I think maybe a couple were in August, September kind of thing.
Yeah, most of them were in November. I think I did five in November. So,
Yeah.
and I had a blast, honestly. I didn't think that I would, but it was so much fun and everybody was really good. And I maybe have done seven. Let's see, I did two in Statesville. I did one in Birmingham. I did um
Charleston. You did one in Charleston.
I did two in Charleston. Two in Charleston. So that's five. And then I did one in Ohio. That's six. And
The Beals.
one at the Beals. So that's seven.
You didn't do any between Ohio and Charleston?
That was Statesville.
Statesville. Okay.
And I didn't do one in Savannah. Yeah, so five in November. So yeah.
So you did 7 total
Yeah.
in the whole year. So 10 seems reasonable for sure. You should easily hit 10.
Easily.
15 would be like probably a good number, and then 20 is probably a stretch.
Yeah, 20 is like a La La Land goal.
I mean, some of
And
those you could double up. I mean, you said you did 2 in Charleston, so
right,
like some of these you
exactly.
can double up and do the same place and just be there for 3 days or whatever.
Exactly. And so if you're on the West Coast and want to do a workshop, you let me know. I'm gonna reach out to Sarah, see if she has any contacts for people that she went to, and see if Joe wants to do one. And I also think it would be fun to do I I don't think this will work until I am in a place, but it would be fun to do a pampered chef style of workshops.
Is that where you go to people's houses
Yeah,
and
where
do
you
it?
go to people's houses and the person that's hosting gets it for free, and then they bring all their friends and they have a party and they provide the food and you do the workshop, and then you can, like, because I live in a van, I could just park outside their house, use their power that night, and it could be done the next day. And and
That sounds
then
like a good plan right there.
and then get one person from that party to host the next party. And and it's just like a that's how the MLM work, like MLM parties go. So
Yep.
it would be like a fake MLM, essentially, just with one
Pottery
person.
MLM.
Yes, a pottery MLM. I did that with Paint Your Own Pottery back in the day, and it was great. It was so much fun.
I mean, honestly, when all you gotta say is you need to bring I mean, I don't know you know, bring 5 people. I would guess you would have to probably handle the payment for the registrations on that side of it.
Yeah, it would be easy to do though, like through a
But you would
website.
make all the money there. You wouldn't have to split a cut with somebody. The cut is that they get it for free.
Yeah, or even honestly, if you were doing it at somebody's house, you could say, "Hey, you get 10%. 10% plus you have a free workshop." Like, because
Yeah.
technically that person has already paid for one at somebody's house, probably.
Yeah.
And so then they do it again for free, plus they get 10%.
Well, yeah, the 10% could also be like I'm using your power. I'm using your
Exactly.
facilities or whatever. Like that's your hosting
Exactly.
fee is 10%.
And what? You get 5 people, you charge, instead of $85, you charge $60. 5 people, that's 300 bucks
They get 30
each time.
bucks
They
and
get
a
30 bucks.
free attendance.
Yeah. I mean, if they got 10 people, which is like what? That'd be $600. They get $60.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have 4 foot tables. It's not like, like
Yeah. Maybe
I
that
come
that cost could
prepared.
also be paying for some of the refreshments or the
Exactly.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And like I say, hey, I'll bring a cheese platter, one of those ones that you buy that's like 10 bucks, 20
That's
bucks
how
or
you put
whatever.
that on them.
Yeah, I could do that. I would say that, like, you guys figure out the refreshments. BYOB.
That's what the percentage is helping with.
Yeah. So,
Okay. So people
but
reach out to
that,
you or look out for something from Becca because she might be reaching out to you if you have a studio.
yeah. But yeah, anyway, once I get to a spot that I'm stable, I'm going to start the MLM pottery workshops
Yeah. Yeah.
until the whole town knows who I am, and then I'm the same person I was in Monroe. So,
Yeah, as long as you keep it enjoyable for you to want to keep doing it, because sometimes you'll like find something and you'll get a little spark there.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
there's a
that's
little
true.
ember started and then it burns out because
Yeah,
it doesn't keep building on
yeah,
itself.
for sure. Absolutely. Um, I think what's enjoyable about this is the fact that I can bring absolutely everything to the table. You know, that everything that I can provide everything. I have a slab roller, I have a kiln, I have all the glazes, I have the clay. Like, I don't have to rely on anybody else for it, you
Hmm.
know? And that's really freaking cool.
Yeah,
So, it is a
I'm
pain
sure
to like put together all the stuff, but I can deal
I'm
with that.
I'm sure there's friends of Rachel's that would probably be interested in doing something like that, honestly. Like
I can't
a
I
party, a jewelry party like that.
yeah, I
Like
can't
I
think
could
of
think of at
anybody
least a
that
couple
wouldn't.
different groups that would be willing to
Yeah,
do that.
it would be so fun. I mean, like, it's fun to, like, what kind of opportunity do you have to normally do that? You don't.
Hmm.
So, like, the fact that it can be with anybody that doesn't know anything is the coolest part about it, you
Hmm.
know?
How would you, and this might be getting ahead of it, how would you take, let's say you have to be responsible for the checkout. How would you take orders for that? Would you
So,
send them an
you
invoice?
would,
Would you send a payment link or?
yeah, I think that you would create a private payment link and email it out. or give it to the person and they can text it out or whatever. So then they could go, it'd be like a private Square link with that person's name on it.
Okay. And you've got,
And then,
here's the price, here, their credit card, they do it with Square. They pay for
exactly,
it. You get the cha-chings on your side. You get the list of people to be expecting.
exactly. And then you can do an email list to those people to to send out the information.
Okay. Because I know you
There's a
did, I think you turned off your website or something, right? So that's not a thing anymore. Or is it?
Yeah, but I have an Etsy, so I could still do it through Etsy if I wanted to, which I don't. But you can also do Square checkout, and so it creates its own page with a link. So,
Okay. Because I was like, if you invoice people, that feels like a lot because you got to collect their email address.
yeah.
But if you do a link, then you can send them. And
Yeah.
it's not like you're sending people to a payment page that's got all of your workshops on it. Most of
Right.
those studios that are hosting the workshops are going to have those
Exactly.
point of
Yeah.
sales, but it's up to you to figure out the point of sale for your individual ones with
For my MLM
people.
pottery
MLM
workshops.
option. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sweet. Okay.
I'm trying
So
to
the
think of
workshops,
a catchy catchphrase for MLM pottery, MLM jewelry workshops. So it'd be like,
Mhm.
um,
I feel like it doesn't have to have, you don't want MLM in there. Like that's a,
no, it would be so funny if it was like multiple laughing moms jewelry workshop or something.
the Five Lines Pottery MLM workshop.
Yeah, anyway. So yeah, 50K is the gross goal and 10 to
Is
20
that
workshops
is that 50K going to include the regular job money or is it separate from the regular job money? I'm saying
separate.
regular job, but that's
Separate.
your business goal is 50,000.
Yeah, and I mean like I think that I don't know when I'm gonna get a job, if I'm gonna get a job. So, I'll know a little bit more in a couple of weeks, but um yeah, I think that if I'm working full time, I'll have a little bit more energy to do the stuff on the side. Because
That
you
sounds
want like an
counterintuitive.
yeah, it does, but here's the thing. You have a lot of energy to do your own stuff on the side.
Mhm.
It's a lot easier to do things when you have a regular job paying the bills, you know?
There's also something about when it seems like your boat is full to add something to it feels monumental, but in reality, we all can like I'm used to having to adjust and add things here and there,
Yeah,
and it feels like it's not possible because what can you actually like something's gonna have to fall off, but like
right.
a lot of
And
times we can
also,
figure out how to adjust to make it work.
yeah, and also like if I was a morning person, that would be a lot harder. Like let's say I got a job at Speedball, right? And their working hours are 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. I don't even start my like brain day until 3 p.m. Like my brain is completely off before 3 p.m.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying like if I had a job it would obviously be on, but it's a different type of brain. My creative brain doesn't start until about 3. So like I'm getting off of work and I'm like I have all these ideas. Let's fucking go. You
Hmm.
know?
As long as
That's
you don't go right to the bed and fall asleep because you're like, okay, like
yeah.
I've been up since 7. I'm not normally up until 11 or 12, so I need to make up for that time that I was awake that I would normally be
Right.
asleep, and I need to
And
sleep for 5 hours.
of course there's going to be a transition time where I don't do anything at all for like a month, you know, because I'm gonna have to get used to waking up at 7 and getting off at 3 and doing all this stuff. But at some point, I'm gonna get bored after work because I don't have very many friends that are in close proximity, and uh, also I don't watch TV that much.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe you'll find a enjoyment with like maybe you're cooking different meals or something because that's your
right.
specific time when you get off and you go to the grocery because it's on the way back or
Yeah, exactly. Like
And
it'll be a huge adjustment for sure. But I assume that, I mean, I've had jobs that were 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So, you know, and I still did pottery on the side of those. And
hmm
so I think that pottery is just one of those things that, I mean, don't get me wrong. I did tell Rachel that I was really excited to not have to do pottery at all. But
you've probably told more people than just Rachel that.
yeah, probably have. But I think that mostly what that means is I'm really excited for pottery not to be my sole income. So,
Yeah, because I mean the reason why you're doing it changes. It's not
yeah,
right now you have to do pottery to make money because that's your only money source.
yeah,
So if you're not doing that and you have a regular job, it would seem like you would be like, well, I don't need to make pottery at all then because my financials are taken care of. So
yeah,
your motivation
yeah.
changes.
But I really want to save some money this year. Like I think that's the biggest goal is that I'd love to save some money. I'd love to pay off my van. If I could pay off my van early, wow, wow, wow. I would love that. If I could be completely debt free and pay no rent for a hot second, that'd be so cool. I don't know if that's realistic because I might get
I mean,
land,
honestly,
but
your day job is going to pay for your car. It's going
hmm
to pay for your meals. It's going
yeah,
to pay for your gas. The pottery, in that sense, would be paying for your additional payments on your car to pay that debt down, like,
yeah,
or
yeah,
save money. Maybe your day job is actually assisting in saving money too, but
right. Yeah, it's just be really cool to be in a spot that's not fighting for my life. So, pretty stoked about that. I want I want to have $25,000 that's not in a retirement fund.
it's liquid.
Liquid, well, in
Maybe not
maybe
like maybe money
maybe
market or something
yeah, maybe
that's
in investments, but I want to it would be amazing to have $5,000 that's completely liquid, like cash under in hidden in the van type of thing.
hmm
So, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely changes things.
Yeah, for sure. So, yep, what's your money goal for this year?
Mm, I don't have a specific money goal, but I'm pushing. I was telling Isaac this yesterday. I'm like $1,000 short of $100,000 for 2024 as of yesterday. So we got like 5 days left or whatever. I
You should
think
do
I'm
a
gonna.
pre-order for something. Do a
Well,
pre-order.
my incentive, what I did was I did put up my dates for the Soda Fire workshops
Hmm.
that are the first two of them that are happening. So if I sell 5 spots, I'm gonna hit $1,000.
I think people need to know this. I think people like, hey, I need to make $1,000 in the next 6 days.
Oh, um, I could do
Or
that.
do you want it, or do you want to do it
Well,
like
I don't.
naturally?
Well, I don't want to say I'm trying to hit $100,000 because I feel like that'll turn people off because they're like, you don't need like why?
Yeah.
But if I say I would like, I mean, I can make it a little more vague. I can say I'm pushing to make $1,000 in the next before the end of the year, and I'm gonna get some of that from Etsy.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple hundred. I did just get a Clay Alliance check that was 150 or so from the gallery sales. So like some of that's coming off, but you know, I think the soda workshop hopefully will push that. I did get one sale, so at $200 less. So I'm probably pushing 800 to 750 that I need to hit.
Nice.
So it's not that much to get there. But
Wait, okay, here, question. What if you get a check from one of your like consignment stores for the month of December? Does that count
no.
towards? Okay.
No, because I get it in the month of January and I actually cash it in the month of January. So I consider that part of
Okay.
2025.
Okay.
I mean, I'm pretty positive it would be more than where I'm at. I mean, also, if you want to be technical about it, you could say Wheel Talk is still under my business umbrella and it could be considered income from that. And I've exceeded that. So,
Right.
but it's
But we're
not
hoping
really for
we're
pottery. I want to think about it for pottery
right.
specifically.
You're trying to specifically not include wheel talk in this, which is
Right.
reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have got a little, I did put a post or something recently that said I'm trying to hit my goal, and I did get 3 or 4 different inquiries of people wanting to buy stuff. So, I think last weekend I got somebody that bought something right before Christmas, or two, I had 2 people come to the studio and get something. Like, one lady bought $200 worth of mugs for gifts,
Mm-hmm.
and then I had somebody else that picked up a couple oil bottles. I mean, it's like $70 here, and or I think that was maybe it was like 80, 85 or something. $85 here, $200 there. I just sold a cup for, $40. So it's little dollars here and there. It doesn't have to be monumental, But yeah, every little bit adds up for sure. So I think I'm gonna hit it. I'm not just gonna coast. I've still got a few days, so you know, I haven't put out a post publicly about the soda workshops. I did in my email list, so I sent that first. Did a little recap of my last one, kind of built the
Mm-hmm.
narrative around like what people can expect, showed the photos, put the dates out there, and then I posted it in my Instagram broadcast channel, which is like that private group that people are interested in the soda firings. So I'll put it there, and then I can post it publicly for people to know about and hopefully get, even if I get 2 or 3 people, I mean, it doesn't take much.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna get it. But back to your question of number goal, think I feel like 110 feels natural. I was
Okay.
at like 95 last year. I pushed 100 this year. 110 seems not far-fetched.
Reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, some of the shows were down this year, so if it would have been more on par with the previous year, I probably would have been closer to 105, 110 this year. But, I think being pretty conservative with the guess. I would say 110 is kind of what I'm shooting for.
Nice.
So just moving a little bit in the margins of the things I'm already doing.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, also, another thing that I kind of want to, a goal for this year is to figure out a workshop that's gender neutral that can happen, that is in the same like realm of doing the earrings, but is, you know, something that like a guy could come to that maybe doesn't wear jewelry that would be, you know,
hmm and it's not making it for someone else. It's making it that
for
maybe
them.
they
Yeah,
can
yeah,
have. Yeah. Why
yeah.
don't you do like a fidget stone one? Could they decorate fidget stones?
Yeah, maybe.
That would be simple, but I was thinking it's got to be small enough that you can fit it in a kiln.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm still like kind of figuring out like magnets would be fun. Like magnets would be fun.
Yeah. Thinking of
I don't know.
what guys use that they would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm still like I've been kind of like pondering that for a while. Every time I do a workshop, I'm like, man, I gotta figure something out that men would enjoy. And I mean, like, don't get me wrong, men do enjoy it. Like, I had a few guys in one of the workshops, and they had an absolute blast, you know. But they made stuff for their wife, and so it's
Did
like
they
the
come with them
process.
as well? I'm
No,
guessing they didn't sign up on their own.
no,
Oh, they
it was actually Feng Shui. Feng Zi, sorry, not Feng Shui.
Easy.
Feng Zi, yeah, Feng Shui. It was Feng Zi who did it for his wife. So, and he had like an absolute blast. Um, so
Yeah, it's going to be harder to market to those people too, because I would guess generally your sphere of folks that are hearing about it are not of that gender. So
yeah,
it's going to be,
so I'm still like figuring that out, but meh, well, it'll
hmm
come when it comes. So,
Yeah, there's another area that actually Deanna asked about this. Because I put out a post about what kind of data would you want to see or learn more about when I was talking about my recap post. And something she asked about was understanding more about your in-person revenue compared to your associated overhead, which is like the traveling to and from and the booth fees and the lodging and all that versus online revenue compared to expenses. So that's shipping boxes, shipping
Right.
costs, packing materials, labor involved in packing and shipping, risk of breakage. So I wonder if there's some math around that I can get a better understanding of. And I think the time tracking is gonna reveal some of those numbers. And it kind of depends on how I slice and dice the data. If I get in there and I actually, how useful is it to know that I spent 65 hours trimming pots in the year versus, okay, let's categorize these tasks and say, um, okay, how much time was spent prepping to go to a show, actually driving to it, like transport to and
Yeah.
from, and then the time spent at the show, how much time was that involved in? And then if you were to look at the other side of it, how much did you sell the individual products? Okay, how much cost did it take to make that spoon rest and you sold X number of them? Okay, the cost to make them was $70 and you made $180 on them. Like you'd have to do a lot of different slicing and dicing to understand this. And is that valuable in the end, or is it really just like, you know, making me ask more questions? But I think that'll come with time. But I think getting the data and actually tracking it is the first step. So, uh, yeah, and I think having Rachel track some of the stuff with packing and shipping, having her track the photography and making the Etsy listings and me editing them and publishing them and all of that stuff is gonna, be more easy to actually calculate.
That's another thing I want to work on this year, goal wise, is photography.
Yeah.
Having, I have a good camera and I used it for pictures last year and they were really amazing. I'd like to figure out a really good, just clean system for taking pictures and what that looks like because earring pictures are always really interesting to me.
I
So,
mean, you're in the right areas, honestly. If you can take photos in Colorado, Utah, I don't know
yeah,
about Seattle, but like sun shining all the time there. So like
all the time.
if you're doing the wholesale photos, especially if you can be like, all right,
Yeah.
I before I leave these areas, I know I might be leaving in like 2 or 3 months from this spot, but like I need to take good photos
Yeah.
while I'm here so that the wholesale photos are like locked in and they're great.
Yeah, and I want to like pay somebody to model the earrings for me, you know?
Mm,
Like be like, "Hey, can we just do a photo shoot this day?" You know, and like actually get good like in-person photos too. So,
yeah,
yeah.
that's definitely important. I mean, I got that replica surface this year. I think that's improved things.
I think so. Your
And then
photos look great.
Rachel figuring out the right time of day to make it work because I'm like, I want natural light. I don't want the headlamps anymore and, no graduated background. So it looks more natural. I think it fits with the Etsy aesthetic. We'll have to see what that looks like for applications. I'm kind of I'm getting to the time where I need to submit some applications. I'm a little weary about what I want to submit. Like, do I want to photograph some stuff I mean, I should have already done this, but do I want to photograph stuff with the graduated background still? Or do I want to do the lifestyle one with the backdrop because it looks more natural?
No, you should do graduated
And I'm like,
for
I feel like I gotta do graduated, but
you got, you know, it's really stupid, but you got to stick to what those art shows want, you know?
yeah.
Like,
And then I'm like, well, I got and then I'm gonna change some of my little thank you card things so that it's got the lifestyle photos with that thank you card
yeah.
rather than the graduated because the graduated feels formal. The lifestyle feels more direct to consumer kind of relationship. Like the consumers care about the lifestyle version of that product. They don't care about the that it looks good on a graduated backdrop. So there's some tidying up in
I
little
really,
areas.
I really like the new backdrop you got. It
Yeah.
looks great. It looks
Yeah,
really great.
yeah, it's been working well. So, and I
Yeah.
think the more Rachel uses it, and the more I can just do little tweaks of like I want you to hold the thing so people can get a sense of the scale. I want
Yeah,
you
and it's
to
all consistent.
like angle it a certain way so that the light's coming in and you can
Yeah.
see the bottom, for instance. Like don't turn the bottom away from the window so you can't see the bottom when you photograph it. It's just angle it, angle it certain
Yeah.
ways, or okay, we don't need to take this many, maybe we don't need 6 photos. Maybe we're good with 4 or 5. And like these
Yeah.
are the ones we want to focus on. And just it just gets more efficient and you just know what you're looking for.
Yeah. The shot glass, 4-piece shot glass, artist choice. I love that picture. It looks so good.
Yeah. I'm definitely gonna change the regular shot glass photo out. That one's I think 2 years old. The mystery box
Yeah.
photo, that's like 4 years old.
Yeah.
So we'll have to improve some of those. And yeah, I'll have to clean like the one thing is hard for the shot glasses, for instance, like I sell the most of those in the year, but they don't Etsy doesn't make it easy to calculate how many of a specific color you sold of that listing
Yeah.
because it's one listing with multiple like variations on it. So, understanding, I just kind of had to go on a gut a little bit of, okay, which colors should I keep? Which colors should I like get rid of on the listing? And which colors should I add that I think are going to be, popular? So, yeah, we'll make little tweaks here and there. I honestly, those will probably fall down on the priority list, but I feel like they're necessary to keep the shop looking consistent.
Yeah. I figured out another thing that I want to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Actually using my email list.
Mm. The one through Square, the Square
Yeah.
marketing thing, or is it
Yeah.
do you have a MailChimp or something separate?
I have a Square one, and I think I used to pay for the Square marketing. And I think that if I continuously like use it, it'll still be good. Especially if I start doing these workshops, then
Mm-hmm.
that will like all those people will be inputted into my email list potentially, and so
Yeah,
on and so forth.
I
So,
would just set a goal, quarterly email for the workshops, list out
yeah.
which ones are coming up, where they're at, all the
Yeah.
links to where they can sign up. And then that's what I was kind of doing quarterly for the shows because it's a lot to advertise for every show. I mean, 20 shows, 20 email. Like I'm not advertising for every single show that I'm doing, but well, I'm not through the email list. I will on social media, but creating a yeah, I did like a spring, summer, fall, maybe a winter one for my emails with what shows are coming up, so people can put it in their calendar. It is kind of a lot of work because I was doing show name with the link to the website, with the address, with the date, linking that address to like a Google map so people can like click on it and see where it's actually located and map it out, see how far it is if they want. A little short blurb about like what people can expect at it, like what kind of stuff is there, if it costs money to be in there to pay for admission or whatever. And then I got to do that times 6 or 7 for the shows that are coming up within that 2 month span or whatever. It's just a lot, but also could be overkill, how many people actually read those, but
Yeah. I think it would also I think that also on my email list, there's a lot of email lists that I'm on that are not a lot that I'm on because I don't subscribe to a ton, but some of them just have like, hey, this is an update of my life and what I've been doing. And I know that a lot of people want to hear what I'm doing, and I am much more comfortable doing a long format version of what I'm doing instead of um like an Instagram, look at this video of what I've been doing. Meh, meh, meh. I think that's something that I've realized, not that I didn't know this beforehand, but something that I've really like cemented down this year is that I'm just not cut out to be an influencer. Like, I don't have the consistency, I don't have the care, I don't have, and like that long format is something that I much prefer. And so yeah, I think that that would be good too. Like do like maybe a monthly update of like, hey, this is what I've been doing. And if you want to follow along, I'll continue to do this over the email as opposed to,
You should do that soon for 2025. Just write a
yeah,
summary of what you're looking forward to this year. High
I
level.
will. I shall. I've got to start paying for the email thing again, but I will.
Yeah.
Um,
What's your
but
is
yeah,
it like $30 a month? I think
it's
that's where mine
40.
was 40.
It's
Based
40
it's
because
tiered based on how many you
yeah,
have, right?
because I have so many. Yeah, and that's also the ridiculous thing is that I have so many people on my email list. It's
Yeah.
like more than 2,000, and it all comes from back in the day when I was doing flash sales and all that kind of stuff. So,
And you're going to be in those areas
yeah.
like reasonably in those
Yeah.
areas of where most of those customers were. So
Yeah.
if there's carryover,
Oh, yeah.
marketing to them is like you're pulling back up that group of people that maybe have forgotten about you a little bit.
Yeah, and so the I feel like I should mention on here that like my plan, okay, I don't know why that showed up, but my plan this last year was to go to North Carolina like right after my parents' house and just kind of camp out in North Carolina and wait to get a job. And I realized, but I didn't really like pay attention to the fact that when I said I was going to do that, I was like, man, I'd really love to go to Utah because I really enjoyed Utah. And so I have since, and because I had so many months to think about it, I last week was like, I think I need to go to Utah. So I changed my mind. Surprise, surprise. And I am headed to Utah after my parents. And I'm gonna stay out there for a little while. I'll probably hit California and Washington. We'll see about Washington. The original plan for this year, before me deciding that I wanted to get a real job, was to do Seattle in the summer. So, uh, but I
For
don't know if
something
that's,
specific or
well, maybe see if I could do Leavenworth Art in the Park and also just spend some time with Andrew and Bridget
ooh, back
and
to those shows, maybe.
maybe. I mean, just like a few, but and just Seattle in the summer is so beautiful. It's just so amazing. So, yeah, just
Yeah, I
to
mean
I'm
when you're nomadic like that and you can choose where you want to be,
yeah,
I mean that's the big draw of like, hey, be the places that you enjoy most at the times of year when you want to be there.
exactly. And I just really love the West Coast and uh, you know, I'm really a West Coast gal. Let's just straight up, I'm a West Coast gal. So, me
Mhm.
trying to be an East Coast gal, I can do it and I will do it, but I think that I'm just a West Coast gal. I feel very comfortable in the West Coast. Um, but it's good to push yourself and go to places that you're not as comfortable in. So, yeah.
Mhm.
So that's why I said if you're in the Western Coast, if you want to do a workshop or have ideas, shoot me a message.
Well, there's also that, I mean, you've kind of talked about it a little bit that there's a little bit of maybe it's harder to come by the people that appreciate the craft on the West Coast versus the East
Hmm.
Coast. So it's really a duality of
Yeah,
it's kind of a I don't know if that's a paradox or whatever, but it's like you want to be here, but the audience is less here.
right.
So
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah, like in Utah last year, it was very apparent that nobody actually likes art in Utah. They're just like, cool, cool, cool. This is great. Why is it $20? Why isn't it 10? Like,
hmm
and you're like, cool, cool, cool. Okay, cool. Great. Not gonna sell anything. Awesome. Like, unless it's dirt cheap. Cool, cool, cool.
but
Like,
maybe they appreciate the experiences of the workshops overpaying for a
Right.
product. Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe
maybe.
they're willing to spend the money for that.
Yeah,
That,
exactly. Who knows?
that's all the experiment.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. Do we have anything else that we would like to?
oh, I was gonna mention there was something so I was listening to something earlier. I was listening to John the Potter actually talking about it because he's got a new podcast that he's doing on his YouTube channel with Kai, his studio assistant, and they were talking about he was talking about how much he was spending time in selling pottery in different avenues. He's doing online, but he's also doing sales at the Mocha Monkey, and it was kind of making me think a little bit about one of the things that I had on my list for 2025 was to kind of trial out a wholesale platform like Faire or Indie where it's completely new to me. I don't know what's involved. I'm sure there's some expenses involved in it too, of like there's a cut that those platforms are going to take, or you're going to pay monthly to be on those platforms that is not guaranteed. And it's just something new that I haven't experienced yet that I'm going to have to, there's a learning curve involved. And I'm like, is there a way that I can kind of shift it a little bit and think of my existing consignment shops that I sell at in a way as like a replacement for some of these new wholesale options that I may be trying to branch out into, but it's like I
Mm-hmm.
still think there's juice to squeeze with my consignment shops, for instance. Like, can I just have a better conversation with them of, I haven't brought stuff to them as much in 2024. Is there a way that I can shift a little bit of what I'm making? And, it's not a 50-50 cut, but it's a 60-40. So I actually get 10% more, but it might take longer to get it. But I feel confident that I'm going to sell those things.
Yeah.
Is there a shift that I can make there where, instead of focusing energy on new wholesale potential, instead like maybe I just dig a little deeper on the existing consignment relationships I already have and they're local. I don't have to worry about breakage and shipping and packing and all that and I also have flexibility with them to give them what I want to give them
Mm-hmm.
for the most part. And I can look back at data about what has sold with them in the past and
Yeah.
just kind of put more focus on actually dedicating that work for them. Um, so that's kind of what I was thinking about because John was talking about how much he sold at the coffee shops, and he was
Mm-hmm.
he was kind of talking about as long as it's kind of like at a art show booth. Like if you have fewer things available that they see all the time, like they're less likely to buy. But if you have like a wider selection and they see it, whether it's like the footprint in the store that they see and they're more likely to buy something because you have a bigger footprint, um, like that's a variable. But also, if people are seeing new things from you, it's also
Yeah.
more reason to come back and keep looking. Like maybe there's something that sparked your interest, but now that there's new things that you're like, oh, I like that. I liked his mugs before, but it didn't meet the color that I wanted. But now there's a color that I really like, and I'm going to buy it this time. Like you've already made
Yeah.
that contact, but now they're just ready to actually purchase. So
Yeah.
I kind of gleaned a little bit from that, maybe I can just, instead of, because I was thinking over time, I would just sunset those consignment relationships at some point because I need to have that inventory for other stuff. But if I'm like, I want to do more wholesale, like, why not treat those relationships kind of like a wholesale relationship
Mm-hmm.
instead? So I think I might try to do some of that because those tend to fall to the wayside for the most part.
Yeah.
And it's really only a couple shops. There was one other shop last year that um, returned some of my stuff that was just like, hey, it's just not selling like we wanted, or I didn't say that, but they were like, it's just we want to use that space for something else at this time of year, and maybe we'll reach back out when it gets to the holiday time or whatever. And I wasn't selling that much anyway, so it's like, yeah, those are naturally going to kind of fall off and ebb and flow. But I mean, that's time that's freed up. to do focus on other stuff. So, you know, I think focusing on two or three shops is makes a little more sense.
Yeah, for sure. Also, Liz says hello.
Liz Cohen,
Yes.
hello. Did you do you still actively have stuff on Fair?
Yeah. No, no. I don't know. I should check.
How does that work? Like, you know more about that than I do. Do you pay a monthly fee to have inventory there, or is it
No.
they get their money on the cut of the sales being made?
Yep. They get their money on the cut.
Okay, so let's say you sell something at 50% off. Are you actually taking home like 40% because they take a 10% cut, or
30,
what is
they
the
take a
realistic
30% cut. I need to take all of these off.
30%? So you're only taking home 20% of the retail price of the things you're selling?
No, you're taking a 70%?
No, no, no. Sorry. 70% of the wholesale price?
Okay, it depends. It depends. If they found you just randomly, I think they take, I have to figure it out. I think they take
Probably
um,
chat GPT this a little bit.
yeah, I think they take a 30% cut for the first one, and then they take 15 or 10 for the next. And then if you like have a contact, like Val's bought stuff through Faire, they take no cut because we already had that contact. Are you there?
Okay. Yeah, I was saying how does fair work as a seller? How much and what percentage am I paying to sell there? Yeah, 25% for new retailers. So on the first order. So like if it is 50%, so you're actually taking home they're taking a quarter of that 50% on the first order.
On the first order. Yes.
So 50 times 0.25, 12.5%. 50 minus 12 and a half. So you're actually taking home 37% of retail cost
For the first order.
for the first order, and then 15% for reorders from the same retailer is what it says.
Yes. This is another reason why you should be starting your cost of your products with wholesale, not retail. You really have to have your prices locked in for wholesale if you're going to be thinking about Faire in your future.
And then if you were doing a reorder, you would make 7% less, 7.5% less than 50%. So you're like 42.5%
Hmm.
of retail cost.
Hmm. Right.
Because I would also suspect some people mark their price up a little higher on Fair.
You can't do that. They check your email, they check your website to make sure that and you sign a contract saying that it's the same price.
So you sell unique items that you don't sell retail, maybe, and you
Maybe,
price
I
it.
guess.
You could do
Yeah, I don't
that
know.
and not break their contract.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was wondering how much is it going to be if I'm already stretched thin, how much is it going to be worth it to pay the fees to make less versus organically growing two to three wholesalers at a time that naturally come my way from being at shows and people talk to me, or being in other retail shops and people see my stuff and they reach out to me, or
Right.
having wholesale clients through social media reach out. So um
But also, Fair is a good website to do your business through. If they have an account, if you have an account, that's a 0% cut. So it'd just be basic 50.
just straight 50/50.
Yeah.
Oh, it says if you bring your own retailer using the customer referral, you only pay 3% commission on all their orders, first and subsequent. That's a processing fee basically.
Oh, maybe. I didn't know that was. Maybe they changed that this year.
It says Fair covers payment processing fees so you don't pay extra for credit card processing.
Ah, yeah.
So maybe they add that 3. So maybe they are taking the 3% at that point. But the big draw for the wholesale buyer is the timing, the payment, like you're covered as a seller as
Right.
well
You get
on
the
the payment
payment,
side.
you get the payment immediately, and if they don't pay, they're dealing with Faire. They're not dealing with you. So there's a buffer.
Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Yeah, that was the other area that I was kind of toying with and thinking if it would be worth it or not. I mean, I kind of had it in the back of my mind for the last couple years, but I just never spent the time to look into it. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe it's not worth it for now, but maybe I don't know. Uh, the only other thing I had was soda workshops. I plan to do 6 of them. I put six,
Okay.
6 for the whole
Good.
year. We got 2 February, March. Oh, this will come out. So I mean, I talked about this earlier, but February 7th through 9th, I have a workshop scheduled. And I also have a workshop scheduled for February 28th through March 2nd. I'll put the link down in the notes for that.
Mm-hmm.
So if people want to
Cool.
sign up, there's 6 spots, 6 spots in each workshop for people to join. And yeah, they're getting easier and easier. Well, I mean, I've only had 2 of them, but yeah, I know what to expect. So
Yeah.
I think I got the flow down and showing people kind of glazes, what glazes look like and what the slips look like and all that stuff. So
Cool. Okay. Do we have anything else? We've been talking for 3 hours,
I don't
but
know when we
the
actually started,
podcast
but
is about 2 hours right now. But also, I
okay.
have to pee like a son of a bitch. So,
All right.
um, but you could talk for like 3 minutes, and I could go pee, and then I could come back.
No, why don't we just depart?
We could depart. You remember when Amy, probably my favorite episode was when Amy was like, I gotta go. I gotta go to the bathroom so bad. And so we just ended.
Amy Brummond?
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
Uh, okay. Cool.
All right.
Well,
Thanks everybody
yay.
for listening.
This was a
Email
good
us.
motivational podcast.
Yeah.
Huzzah.
Yeah, I think so. Email us if you got the L&L kiln from listening to us.
Yep. Please do. Wheel Talk
And
Podcast at gmail.com.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, thanks everybody for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to another episode of Wheel Talk. This podcast is made possible through the contributions of all of our listeners who always ask us great questions, leave us reviews, and contact with us through social media. Thanks to all the fellow makers as well who take time to be interviewed and share about their lives and businesses.
And thank you to Ashley from Boldover Ceramics and Lindy from Lindy Garner Ceramics for their assistance on the Whale Talk Podcast Instagram. You are invaluable. Thank you to everybody.